Then there's the World Centre of Racing and Daytona International Speedway. World Centre of Racing, Daytona International Speedway.
I wish they'd make a mind up as to what. Are you the World Centre of Racing? Are you really though?
Yeah.
That's the question, you know.
They've got left turns and they've got right turns. Pretty grungy music, that. Blah, blah, blah.
I see we've got 5 on Zoom.
So how does it work then? People can...
Well, Hugo's put up a separate stream, which is a behind-the-scenes stream.
And is that for... Anybody can go on that, or is it for Patreons, or how does it work?
Oh, well, if that's the case, I better unbutton this shirt.
I can see it now. Oh, brilliant.
Hang on, can they hear you, Hugo? Oh, come on!
Right, okay,
that's the whole point of us doing a behind-the-scenes thing, is that we hear your dulcet tones, Hugo. No, that's not good enough. I want it now. If we're doing this, I mean, we will go on strike for this behind the scenes thing, not for the main show. I mean, obviously we'll be professional, we'll be on stream, but for this behind the scenes thing, we will go on strike if Hugo's not on it.
Power play.
Yes, Ace Carry. Yes, get the hashtag going. Hashtag we want Hugo voice. It's a slightly misty Interlagos, Peter, by the way.
Ooh.
It's clearing up though, because it's a morning session.
That's interesting. What was going to say? I interviewed Felipe Nazar earlier on today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Is that for the podcast?
Yeah.
Tell me, Peter, where can they find this podcast of yours?
On Spotify, Castbox, Apple Podcasts, most places.
In all good
podcast
providers, and some rubbish ones as well.
And some crap ones too. Yeah.
And if I was to look at getting this podcast, what's the name of the podcast again?
The Porsche Sport Podcast.
Oh, there you go. I think you should, for one of your podcasts, get an expert on the Porsche Tag Heuer Esport Super Cup.
That is genuinely a brilliant idea.
I'll put you in touch with Coanda.
No, you're definitely coming on, Paul. Yes. Yeah, it goes. I'll be outnumbered by because of course Luke, who I presented with, he's from Yorkshire too, so it'll just be Yorkshire FM. We're now flatting about with.
Now then, I tell the sunshine.
Hey.
Bayek.
Oh,
what the opening round at Hockenheim war? I tell them.
9-2. Hey.
You cannot do a Yorkshire accent, Peter, for goodness sake. Seriously though, if you get the chance to watch the opening round of Pesk, it was really entertaining.
Good. I thought it even won.
Yeah, won the feature race.
That's crazy.
Very controversial feature race.
Was it? What happened?
According to some of the drivers, but yeah.
What happened?
So 4 drivers got drive-through penalties for instant count limit. 2 of which were in the top 5 towards the end of the race.
Well, surely they know going into it what the incident count limit is.
Oh yeah.
So what's their problem? Or did they have a problem?
It's how do I say it? It wasn't what happened after one of them got because basically Charlie Collins got a drive-through, right, and then decided, right, I'm in 3rd place. I've got Diogo Pinto in front of me for red line. And so he just, into turn 2 at Hockenheim, just threw a move to the inside to deliberately slow up Pinto so that Guvan could pull away. I mean, it was a brilliant team play, don't get me wrong. If you've got that opportunity and you can play that team game to help your teammate out, you're always going to do it.
Yeah, and you can do it without being dirty.
And you just threw a move to the inside, slowed him down, got ahead, and yeah, played the team game. But a lot of people were not happy about that. So,
well, if he had just T-boned him, that would have been a different story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But if you pulled, that's a risk you take. I mean, it's motor racing. Jeez. It's a bit like the thing with people moaning about Checo Perez in the last round of the.
That was brilliant what Perez did in F1.
The guy's doing his job. You know, like, give him a break. Like he's. Yeah, I hate this entitlement that's everybody say, oh no, they should just jump out of the way, or no, how dare they overtake us? How dare you overtake someone in a motor race?
Do you know what I remember? This is going back to 1994 in the British, 1994 or 93, one of the 2 years, and it was basically the British Touring Car Championship, and Andy Rouse had a stop-go penalty for something at Silverstone. And he came out and he was right in front of the battling Alain Menu and Paul Redisic. And he ended up affecting the result. Menu wasn't happy about it because he played the team game.
Yeah.
But he was playing the team game.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Andy Rouse was the owner of the team as well, and engineer of it, he wants to see what's going to win. So I've seen it in the past. If you know that you can help out a teammate, then you're going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just looking at the comments. How dark is Paul's room?
This is a green screen. If people want to actually see a little behind the scenes,
a pack of Iron Brew donuts and £5 for the bed. No,
that's the behind the scenes of what it's actually like. You'll see it in the second, Peter, on the...
I'm looking at the YouTube stream now.
Yeah, it's a bit of a delay on the YouTube stream.
Yeah. Invitational.
Yeah, calling it prehistoric times. How dare you? But yeah, that's the reality of it. It's a green screen, and I've just got a coloured background.
Ah, very clever. Yeah, streaming genius.
I mean,
so, how the World Touring Cars?
I've got a bone to pick with you, Peter. I've got a bone to pick with you guys in the commentary box.
Go on.
Well, you get your facts right before you start blaming people.
I didn't know. Discuss.
So first of all, the first I see of it all is the tweet that Justin put out on the.
It's nothing to do with me. Number one, nothing to do with me.
So I spoke to him on Saturday because I've not had a chance to watch it back yet, and he said the commentary team 5 times said that you were to fault at that. So he said commentary team. So that includes yourself, Peter.
Well, so you're taking. I think as JP will know, as a journalist, you should what's the word? Corroborate your evidence or verify evidence. Why don't you watch it back and see if that's the case or not? So I think JP's throwing us under the bus there.
I mean, you can watch back from my stream. You can see how bad it was.
Oh, it was carnage. Absolute carnage. I mean, Brands Hatch often is, but shall we say there were some drivers in the field who should know better, some of the stuff that was going on. That's what I'll say when we're on air.
I haven't even looked. I'm one of the stewards, so I haven't even looked at all the incidents yet. I need to do that.
I would get started now, so you might be ready in time.
But there was some questionable moves happening out there on Thursday. I'm glad we've got a week off this week.
That's true. Yeah, of course we do. Forgot about that. 22 people watching.
It's because we've got this on before the main show. Nobody will watch this after the main show's off.
You think? Well, you can have a dual screen. But I love that. Can you put the John Smith's factory behind you?
Because first of all, I'd have to find a picture of the John Smith's factory. Secondly, I've got a Tetley's cask pint glass. Thank you very much.
Tetley's brewery, that'll do.
I've got a picture of that. So
I'm waiting to see when it turns up.
Would you like the Silverstone race control room? 'Cause I've got that. I went and adjusted a few things to have my stream stuff on there.
I'm looking at. Now or never. This is perfect when you have an EXQ.
Yeah, it's excluded from penalty from qualifying.
Now or never.
Of course, right.
Yeah, if only Josh had have read the rule book.
Oh, you've. Yeah, he's gonna come and slap you in the face with a Manx.
This is enough a bugbear of mine.
He's gonna come and slap you across the face with a Manx kipper.
I don't get it how sim racers find it so hard to read a rule book though. Seriously. Just saying.
Yeah. Oh, now I've hold on. I need to. I've got very good race snacks tonight. Hold on.
Oh, we've got snacks. Ooh.
Oh.
Always dropping things. We're highly professional here at RaceSpot, honest. No, it's Cover de Sol that you got to be worried about. I have got the safety car button ready, by the way. In all seriousness, I have got the safety car button ready. Hugo, I want to check something with you. Turn 9 is Pinherino? Pinherino. Okay, and it's Yun Sao, isn't it? Jun Sao, sorry. It's about the only time that I can actually confirm corner names with you for. Jun Sao. Desida de Lago. I like Bico de Pato. Duckbill. I like that. Where's Peter disappeared to? Oh, okay. They better hurry up. Oh, here he is.
You're not. You're on air.
Yeah, don't forget you're on air.
Yeah.
think Peter needs to invest in a flat cap, like me.
I think so. Is that Milton Keynes karting?
I only have like vague memories of Milton Keynes karting.
The two strokes that were amazing.
I was very ill. We went down for 24 hours in 2019 to race.
Oh.
And I came down with like a proper fever, like seriously like bad fever, and it was affecting my balance. Like the Saturday morning I went out for the mandatory 15-minute practice and I lasted just barely 15 minutes, and I was like, yeah, I can't race. If I'm like this later on. And my first stint wasn't until midnight that night. And yeah, I ended up going home early because I was just that ill.
Ugh.
I spoke to the medic that they had there, and he was like, "What's up?" And I went, "Yeah, I'm not feeling 100%, you know, and it's affecting like my balance and whatnot." And he goes, he's looking at me and he's just going, "Yeah, you've just started sweating just uncontrollably." I'm like, "Yeah, it does that." He goes, "Yeah, I wouldn't recommend driving."
Oh dear.
Well, one of our teammates ended up throwing up in his helmet because of the two-stroke fumes. Because early hours in the morning, it was just hanging with the dew.
Yeah.
And it was just, yeah.
Waiting for that thick beat to drop in it. Wop, 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 wop.
Okay, have a good show, Peter.
Yeah, and you?
I like that Team Mad paint. Very good. I'm not biased or anything.
Oh my god. He goes, "Hey everyone, come see how good I look."
Team Mad went and shared the iRacing post of the last lap of Pesk, and they went, having one of our team on the commentary means that we're involved in Pesk, right? Of the most exhilarating World GT Championship coverage, we're head on over to Interlagos for the first of our sprint race rounds here on RaceSpotTV. Hello everybody, welcome along to the World GT Championship round number 3. My name is Paul Smith. Joining me as ever here on commentary is Peter Mackay. And Peter, first of our sprint rounds, 3 20-minute races. This is an entirely different style of racing.
Totally different, and particularly a different type of circuit as well. The tight and twisty nature of Interlagos in a sprint racing format. I think we're going to have some thrills and spills tonight, that's for certain. And a few big names coming from the back of the pack as well, from pit lane.
Absolutely. We've got the long slipstreaming sections at the start of the lap, and also towards the end of the lap, and then that tight, technical, twisty section. It's a tricky track to set your car up for, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. There's two very distinct areas, as you mentioned. One which is a bit of a flat-out drag strip up the hill, and then the very tight and twisty sections in the middle of the circuit. Getting that setup dialed just right is going to be really important. And, you know, you look at our defending champion, Ross McFarlane. He's so experienced in that Lamborghini Huracan. Feel like he's part of the furniture in that car, and that knowledge and that mileage will be really important to getting that setup right today.
Well, let's have a look at our schedule just very quickly to see where we've been. Daytona and Silverstone the first 2 weeks of the championship. This marks the first of the sprint race rounds before we have a week off. And what a place to then return to the championship. Mount Panorama on the 21st, then Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Hungaroring, Sebring, Circuit de la Sarthe, Mosport, Watkins Glen, Hockenheim, and the Red Bull Ring rounds out this championship. Notice, funny how they have Valentine's Day off. I think the admins might be pulling some sway there. But anyway, let's have a look at your standings as they are at the moment. So it's Luke McEwen who leads the pro standings by a good margin now, ahead of Josh Thompson. Ross McFarlane's not that far behind him either, with Jack Sedgwick always just loitering around with intent, with Evdoka, Watson, and Durruti. You'll be hoping for a better round this time. Volkovic, Harrod, and Finch rounding out the top 10 in Pro-Am. Well, it's Mike Horder who leads that one at the moment, ahead of Crouch, with Webster in third place. Quite tight, 30 points between the top three in your Pro-Am. Hutchison, Wood, Walker, Woodhouse, Krohn, and De Jong, with Gregory rounding out the top 10. In your AM standings, it is Chris Malcharek in first place by just 3 points ahead of Lee Berridge. Lee Berridge, who had a really good race in Silverstone last time out. Osborne's in third place ahead of Robert Archer, just 1 point between those two. Lars van Rijn with Whitehouse, Elsner, Draper, and Brad Hulse rounding out the top 10 of your AM standings. Team standings, well, it's the Was Cooking by 3M team, with Jack Sedgwick and Josh Thompson in that one, with Pure Sims Esports second place ahead of the German Sim Racing.de by ACV. Rest of the teams there. Century Sim Racing, what a good round it was at Silverstone for them. They are the top Pro-Am team, and they're a good number of points ahead of Simmortal, who are the second place Pro-Am team, ahead of Parabellum Racing Team in third. So that's the standings as they are at the moment. We're getting in the final few seconds of qualifying and getting that out of the way. We'll give you your starting grid. You touched on it briefly there, Peter. We've got some big names starting from the back of the grid. In total, 7 qualifying penalties here. That can play crucial in a championship in these sprint rounds.
Well, we talked about that last week, you know, with 1 or 2 incidents on track. If you were given a post-race penalty, then it can, in this of an endurance race, you can sort of work your way back into it with the strategy, etc., or even in the feature races across the course of the night. But in the sprint format, that's really, really punishing as well. The races just aren't long enough to get through the field and score good points. So it's going to be a tough night ahead for those drivers.
Absolutely it is. It's going to be intense. It's going to be fast and frenetic. Rolling starts, as always, here in the World GT Championship for these drivers. So we'll get you your starting grid in just a second right now. In fact, here it is, and it's Leandro Andaruti. He'll be looking for a good result here. Alongside him on the front row, there's Ross McFarlane, Marvin Lesmorman in third place. And look at that, a Pro-Am driver, Christian Rose, 4th place on the grid. Rhys Saunders, race winner last time out at Silverstone. He's in 5th. Alongside him is Ashley. No, he wasn't the race winner. He was a top 3 podium position, should I say. Lewis Ward with Michael Evdoka, Adam Watson, and Chris Van Der Ness on row number 5. Row 6 is Adam Volkovic and Andy Archer, your top AM driver, 12th place. AMs and Pro-Ams really mixing it up in qualifying. David Baker and Pete Harrod on row number 7, with row 8 of Lee Berridge and Mark Hutchinson. Mike Horder and Bruno Canero on row number 9, with Christian Malsharek, your AM Championship leader, ahead of Jack Osborne on the same row, 10th row of the grid. Jonathan Walker with Alex Nella on row 11, with James Crouch and Chris Wood on row number 12. Row 13 for Tim Perry and Jeroen Kaiser, with Paul Webster and James Wrighthouse sharing row number 14, Adam Hedgecock and Jack Belton on row number 15. Now, if I'm correct, Jack Belton was actually supposed to miss out qualifying, so he could be flat out disqualified if that is the case. Ben Gregory and Jesse Payne Wilkins then rose 16 ahead of Simon Field and Lars Van Rijn. Eric Haag and Brendan Stacey next row of the grid. Brian Krohn, Simon Nella, David Michael Nichols and Matt Woodhouse on row number 20. John Roberts and Martin de Jong, row number 21. Row 22 for Michael Blight, Craig Jones, with Nick Salaputis and Kevin Kittleman, Toby Ward and Robert Lundgren. And we've still got a few more to go, so we'll quickly fire through these. Nathan Healy is in 49th. I can tell you the rest of the drivers who did not set a lap time. Josh Thompson 50th, Luke McEwen and Jack Sedgwick, they also had penalties, 51st and 52nd. Adam State and Tony Draper 53rd and 54th, with Bradley Hulse rounding out your grid. There's your driver wall, 7 drivers giving us our sort of unique look at how these drivers go throughout these races. Peter, what's your thoughts? What are you betting here in this opening race?
Oh, well, just hope that the leading drivers get through clean, because it's such a snag in those opening S-bends. But is this where we see Ross McFarlane get himself right back up into the sharp end of this championship? I think it could be.
Well, here we go then. Pace car, it pulls in late here, does the pace cars. You've got to be careful with your launch. You can't hang back too far like they do in other races, like in sports car racing or a Formula 1 whenever you have a restart here. So you've got to be patient. Pace car, the Porsche 911, jumps onto pit road, and then it's all under the hands of Leandro Andreotti. Green flag out, and we are underway here at the circuit of Interlagos, down towards turn number 1. Then we go. Nice start from Andreotti and Ross McFarlane. Will the rest of them make it through? Oh, there's a big pile up. Look, McEwen's involved in that one as well. Still cars involved in that one. They're going green though so far. Down through Curva del Sol for the first time. Cars fanning out 3-4 wide further back in your field. And down into Descending del Lago for the first time here, Peter. Bit of carnage, bit of chaos to start off with, but we're keeping going for the time being. Although Brendan Stacey, big impact for Brendan. He's around. Well. Yeah, bruising encounter for the opening lap. We stay green for now here in the World GT Championship, but championship leader Luke McEwen caught up in that early melee, and that is the danger of being so deep in the pack. As we go through Bico de Pato for the first time, the duckbill, and through we go. Cars spreading themselves out now as they go along into Junsao. And thank you very much to our producer Hugo Luis, who corrected my pronunciation of Junsao. As we go up the hill, it's important to carry the speed here now, Peter. You've got to stay in the draft, in the slipstream of the cars in front. And for cars like the Porsche, this could be a little bit more of an issue compared to the Lamborghini and the Audi.
That's right. I mean, the Porsche typically will get out of the initial phase of corner exit very well with its rear engine layout, gives it great traction. However, it just doesn't have the sheer metric grunt that particularly the BMW has, and it seems that the Lamborghini and the Audi is both really strong all-round package. So you're right, that draft is going to be really important for the Porsche drivers. At the moment, the top Porsche driver is Adam Watson in the 991 machine for Team Mad. So yeah, at the moment it's the mid-engine cars. It's Audi from Lamborghini from Audi.
As we go up the hill, Ferradura once again, second lap of this race. The standings as they are at the moment: Leandro Andreotti with Ross McFarlane, Marvin Mittler, Les Moorman in third place, Rhys Saunders up a position at the start, Michael Evdoka and Adam Watson up 3 positions at the start there. As it goes, Christian Rose, Lewis Ward, Ashley Finch and David Baker rounding out the top 10 here. Your top Pro-Am is still Christian Rose. Your top Am is Lee Berridge in 12th place in his BMW. Brilliant scenes here from the World GT Championship. Pleasure to have you all along here on RaceSpotTV. The skies have actually cleared up because earlier in practice here, Peter, it was very, very misty, but the sun's burnt through now, burnt through the clouds, so giving us some ideal conditions out there for these drivers.
Yeah, pretty much perfect, exactly. And that not having a too high a track temperature is going to be really important for the grip as well. Of course, tyre wear is something we really don't need to worry about in this short sprint race format. In fact, you want to get the very most out of the tyre, use it up, because you've only got 20 minutes that the tyre has to last for, so push on. But at the moment, it's Leandro Anderuti. Of course, he's had the pace. He has a really, really strong pace all season, but just hasn't been able to execute for whatever reason in the races. But less strategical input here, Paul, might well suit Anderuti because he's so quick over one lap.
Oh, he is, absolutely. We've seen it time and again. I mean, we saw it last week at Silverstone. Very controversial ending, wasn't it, at Silverstone, with Anderuti getting turned towards the end of the race at Beckett. We've got some replays of the start here. So you look at that, they were going 4 wide, 5 wide even, down towards turn number 1. Luke McEwen was looking to the inside, and then it's just skittles.
Yeah, McEwen was making up huge amounts of ground there and just had the door shut right at the last moment with a sideways. I didn't pick out which car it was. I think it was a Lamborghini. Just fired across the road. So, yeah, there's almost not enough tarmac around to fit all of the cars through there, particularly with the bumper grid that we have here in the World GT Championship. Is the Ferrari of, now I think that is Lewis Ward, using the Maranello grunt, Maranello horsepower to sweep past the Porsche of the number 93 of Christian Rose. But Christian Rose leading his class in Pro-Am. The numbers on the left-hand side of our timing tower, number 93 there. It's in orange. That signifies the Pro-Am class. And our top Am class driver at the moment is Lee Berridge in the number 54 with the blue and purple number.
Absolutely. In fact, he's currently fighting Adam Volkovich and Ashley Finch. So it's great to see these Am drivers. He's got Lewis Archer right there with him. Finch, though, he's battling with Volkovich as they go into the right-hander at Ferradura. And Berridge is trying to follow through in his BMW. Can't do that. We've got moves being made there down the inside by Volkovich, trying to make her a move back at the Lamborghini that made his way past him with Ashley Finch. We're heading to Bickertapata once again. Not really an overtaking opportunity through that corner, but you can set up drivers through the next 2 corners for that run up the hill. If you make them defend coming into Junsao here, then you then get a great run. Here's another replay further down. Oh dear, around we go. Trouble there for one of your boosted cars, and also I'm trying to see who that was, the number. I couldn't quite make it out whether it was Eric Haag or not.
Not sure, couldn't quite pick it out, but despite just an update on some of our championship contenders, of course, first and second in the championship, both starting from the very back of the pack today. Josh Thompson and Luke McEwen. McEwen is, despite that, getting caught up in that, getting snagged in that turn 1 incident. He's up into 30th position. Josh Thompson up into 23rd, and that's out of 55 starters. So quite impressive progress so far from those two.
Yeah, it's a huge grid here in the World GT Championship. Great to see the amount of drivers that we have in this series. We have had a few drivers onto pit road, and that was Jack Sedgwick getting turned around, so he was getting into issues out there, and he's currently in 37th place right now as Jack, so he's trying to recover. He's still up 15 positions, even though he was involved in that incident there, Peter.
Yeah, of course, there's a number of drivers who unfortunately have had to go to pit lane for repairs. They are Martin de Jong, Bradley Hulse, Tony Draper, Brendan Stacey, Kevin Kittelman and Brian Crone have all been to the pit road to have repairs. So there has been a reasonably high rate of attrition so far. And I think that's what we will come to expect throughout the day, particularly when we get into reverse grids and what have you, because that'll be when it really mixes up. Now, replay looking at, the 38 Team Mad.
Getting spun around. Oh, and that's possible one of the worst places to get spun around, isn't it, Ferradura? Because once you've turned into Ferradura, it's very difficult for you to change your line through there, isn't it? And if you suddenly find a car stranded in the middle of the track, it's a case of, where do I go? Yeah,
I mean, one of the only saving graces is that there is tarmac runoff on the left-hand side, off the side of the circuit. But yes, you're right, you're very committed through there. It's a fast corner. Oh, wee!
That was Salaputis getting into the back of another car, and that's a boosted car getting spun around. Well, I say it's a boosted car. I think it's actually one of the three Spires cars getting spun around there. And that was Toby Ward, I believe, involved in all of that.
The blue BMW that got kind of nerfed by Salaputis was the 64 of Adam State, one of our Pro Class cars, but just trying to get himself back up the order. He's in 38th at the moment, so a lot of pro class drivers who are really in the wars so far. But just at the back of shot there is the Logitech Aldis Esports Lamborghini of our championship leader, Luke McEwen, who's surging through the pack. And he's in 30th at the moment, but made up a good chunk of spots.
I love those drone type shots. They're really, really good. You see, if you ever saw the Nitro RX out in the States over the winter, you have seen the drone pilots were doing a superb job of bringing you excellent pictures of the action, and that's the sort of shot that you were getting to see. Luke McEwen right now is onto the tail of Ben Gregory in the Three Spires Motorsport car. Gregory looking left and right. McEwen's thinking, do I make a move to the inside? There's space there. Ben Gregory's been very generous there. They're fighting in front as well in the boosted Virage car and the Immortal car. And it's the Immortal car that loses out of all of that. Paul Webster to the back of this queue.
Yeah, if you make one tiny error, or even if you just get pushed out sideways a little bit, you'll just be freight trained, because there is such a strong pack, such a strong depth of field. As we go on board the number 88 of Johnny Walker, and well, we'll be hoping for a vintage performance today. Now, if I'm not mistaken, is that an Porsche RSR replica steering wheel? I think it might be. Top marks. That's very cool.
Oh, Jonathan Walker, of course, from series sponsor 3M. So great to see him on the grid as always in his Lamborghini. I don't think Ben Gregory will be appreciative of that, though. A little bit late onto the brakes into Bica de Pato, and, well, exit stage left, Ben Gregory.
Do you know what the problem there was, Paul? Is that
I don't think it was Gregory, actually, looking at my timing screen.
The problem there was that Johnny's forgot to put on his 3M sim racing gloves.
You see, yeah.
And they're maybe in the wash, possibly. And maybe that's he's just not used to not having the exceptional grip that they provide.
It was Gregory, but credit to Gregory, he held on to that and didn't lose any positions there. So good save. Very good save. It's maybe as if he was almost ready with holding the brake, waiting for the big the big thud from behind. But where he saw the 3M Lamborghini appearing at excessive speed. But anyway, they carry on. Well, I can tell you that every driver is still running out there at the moment. Yes, you pointed out, Peter, that a few have been onto pit road, but every single one of them is still running in this race. So it's a race of attrition to a degree, but they're all still out there. I can tell you, Leandro Andaruti is still in the lead by 1.1 seconds, so he's trying to pull away from Ross McFarlane in second place, with Marvin Lesmoman in third place. Then your top Pro-Am is still Christian Rose in 8th place. The next Pro-Am in the list is 13th, Chris van der Ness, with Mark Hutchinson in 16th place. Your top Am, that's still Lee Berridge ahead of Andy Archer. See, those two seem to be connected at the hip there. Look at this, McFarlane's under serious pressure from Les Molman here. So here he comes then, the 666 of Les Molan in the Audi R8. Goes for the move, and I think he's going to get this done. No, not quite. McFarlane says, not in your life, pal.
And Les Molan with a little bit of a grin there, almost a bit of appreciative grin of the racecraft of defending champion Ross McFarlane. But can Les Molan make it work to make it an Audi 1-2 with 7 minutes to go? You've got to get up early in the morning to get past McFarlane.
And crucially, it'd be a German simracing.de 1-2 as well, which would do them great for the Teams Championship. Don't forget that. There you see on the left-hand side of your screen, positions gained and lost. Bruno Canero in the top 16 has gained the most in 8th place. Josh Thompson, unsurprisingly, the most positions gained in the race, 33 places up to 17th. With Luke McEwen up 26 places as well. So those drivers starting from the back, having to work their way through the field after having penalties for infractions at Silverstone. Of course, you don't actually serve any penalties at an endurance race in the series, so it's only in the endurance and feature races that you do actually serve those penalties. Got battle for second in the main screen and battle for 16th in the bottom screen, because Josh Thompson has made up yet another place up into 16th.
Yeah, the mighty Manxman is really on the charge today. Josh Thompson is almost in the edge of the top 15 now. Really impressive in just 15 minutes of racing. But and also for Josh Thompson as well, yes, he's had to start from the back of the pack, but his objective really for this race would be to get into the reverse grid, the reckoning for the reverse grid, and he's doing that just perfectly. And if he can get a good spot in the grid for race 2, he's really back in the game, and he's served that penalty and recovered from that penalty as best as possible.
It's you want to get yourself to the the lowest number, should I say, highest position on the reverse grid draw to guarantee yourself a decent draw. Whereas if you're further down that reverse grid draw, Peter, you end up you're not quite sure whether you will get a reverse grid or not. Of course, in this series as well, there are 2 slots where it says no, we're just not giving you a reverse grid at all. So Leandro Andraruti and Les Molan and McFarlane right now, I think, are hoping and praying that the no reverse grid gets drawn out in this.
Well, absolutely, we'll be thinking of that, and that would be quite a turn-up. We don't see it very often, but it's when we get the full reverse as well, is when it can get really, really spicy and interesting as well. But Thompson has driven very well here. He was, shall we say, a bit disappointed by his penalty, but has served it and is getting back on with things. It was interesting, Josh's comments post-race last week, Paul, of not enjoying driving the BMW at Silverstone. I wonder if it certainly appears to be much better today here at Interlagos setup wise.
No, he'll probably say that I was a pig to drive and he didn't enjoy it, but pro drivers, pro sim racers, they're just impossible to please, aren't they? There's always something that they can find at fault, and maybe not happy with something. But that BMW seems to be working well for Josh right now. Heading down towards Descenda de Lago once again. He's got Andy Archer in front, who's actually rather gifted, Josh, and Lee Berry just following him off there. So Thompson, great run on the Boosted Media car, and before you know it, he is around the outside. Boosted Motorsport, should I say. Oh, Ferradura, they're dueling it out there, and Thompson still staying outside, not able to get the move done, but that's up at least 1 position.
Berridge did very, very well to get the door shut and to get the momentum back going again after that little mistake coming through the Descenda de Lago. So, but Thompson I would think, will be trying to line up a move into turn 1. Such a popular place to pass because you can set it up in the slipstream all the way up this endless drag up the hill. So Thompson right there on the back bumper of Berridge, try and use that slipstream effect to build his momentum and then go for the move on the brakes down into turn 1.
Well, here he goes then, got the slipstream. If I'm Lee Berridge right now, I'm not fighting this one too hard. I don't make it easy, but I also don't fight it too hard, because you look at the bigger picture, you're the leading AM driver out there. Okay, you've got the second place AM right behind you. Thompson giving him a little bit of a squeeze there. He wanted all of the road there into the centre S. But Thompson then up into 14th now. Going to be a bit of a tall auger tall order, should I say, to catch up to Chris Van Den Ness.
I mean, ogres are generally quite tall.
Yeah, but yeah, they certainly are. It's going to be a tall order, though, isn't it, to catch up to 13th now for Thompson. Luke McEwen, he's on his own, really. He was going through his shot there. I'm just looking at my timing screen. 23rd. It's up 28 positions for Luke.
Yeah, Luke was just really unlucky in that turn 1 melee, really, and that's kind of held him back a little bit. And it's going to be very, very nervous waiting on the spinny wheel of doom or the wheel of fortune, whichever way it might fall either side. In 23rd, he's, I think, right on the cusp of he's really in the lap of the gods, whether he's going to get a reverse grid or not. If he doesn't, got a bit of work to do.
I just want to point out, by the way, I've just noticed it on that shot, in the runoff of Pinheirino, there is a palm tree that has its own Armco barrier around it in the middle of the runoff. There is still then further runoff behind it, but there's a palm tree that has its own Armco barrier.
Must be a special palm tree.
It must be, absolutely. Well, we've got fighting going on. Rhys Saunders here. He is currently fighting with Michael Evdoka over 4th place right now. They've fallen back off the leaders. In fact, Leandro Andaruti has pulled away 2 seconds over Ross McFarlane. So, movement here, though, down the inside, and Evdoka up into 4th place, runs a little bit wide, and Saunders says, thank you very much, I'll get the up and under.
Yeah, so Andaruti leading confidently by 2 seconds at the moment with the fastest lap. It's been a perfect drive for the number 15 for the Italian, and this is the result that Andaruti I think is deserved, but it just hasn't gone his way in the opening 2 rounds, but stating his claim as a contender for the World GT Championship.
Well, he's coming through. I think this is going to be the final lap because we're at 13 seconds remaining and he's only just getting to Junsao right now. He's on the chewing gum once again as he climbs up the hill. He knows that he's got a win in his grasp. The clock strikes 0. It is the final lap confirmed, and he's going to see that checkered flag. Are we going to see a smile on the face of the Italian? He weaves across the line. No change in expression, but he is your race winner here in race number 1 of the evening in the World GT Championship. Ross McFarlane and Marvin Lesmoman round out your top 3, with Christian Rose your top Pro-Am, and the crumbling across the line right now is Lee Berridge to be your top AM driver for Boosted Motorsports. Great result for them, and Andy Archer as well, it must be said, in 16th place. Mark Hutchison was in 3rd place in Pro-Am in 17th. Rest of your drivers coming across the line here. They're all coming thick and fast here, Peter. That was a good opening race of the evening here.
Yeah, I mean, very strong drive from Leandro Andaruti, pulling a gap away from Ross McFarlane, but also really impressive Josh Thompson coming from the back of the grid up into 14th position as well. That puts him in a strong position for the rest of the evening. Luke McEwen, well, he'll be patiently and anxiously waiting on the Wheel of Fortune here.
Well, speaking of the wheel, let's get this spun and see who gets themselves a pole position for race number 2. Wheel slows down. There's one of the no reversers. Oh, it's going to slow down early. We're not going to get a full one. We've got to wait.
Misses it.
I think it's going to be 21. Comes nicely to a stand. It'll light up yellow and confirm to us that 21 is the reverse grid pole. And we'll confirm that with the race results here, the unofficial race results of race number 1 of the evening here in the World GT Championship. And it is Leandro Andaruti for GermanSimRacing.de by ACV who win this one by 2.4 seconds in the end. Really good result for Leandro there, with Ross McFarlane 2nd and Marvin Lesmoman in 3rd place, so 1 and 3 for GermanSimRacing.de. Rhys Saunders just missing out on the podium ahead of Michael Evdoka, who you saw fighting on that last lap. Adam Watson, your top Porsche, in 6th place ahead of Lewis Ward. Your top Pro-Am, Christian Rose for Pure Sim SimLab, ahead of his teammate David Baker, 8th and 9th places, and Bruno Cadero rounding out the top 10. Adam Volkovich makes it a good result and a good day so far for GermanSimRacing.de in 11th place ahead of Ashley Finch. Chris van der Ness for Evo SR is the second placed Pro-Am driver. Josh Thompson, what a drive it was from him, a gain of 36 positions in the end in 14th place. Lee Berridge for Boosted Simsport in 15th place ahead of Andy Archer for Century Sim Racing in 16th. Those are your two AM drivers on the top steps of the podium for them, with Mark Hutchinson for Evo SR, the third place Pro-Am driver. Pete Harrod, James Crouch and Alex Nella round out your top 20. Mike Horder 21st ahead of Christian Malcharak for the Audi Sport Slovakia KES LLM team. That's third place for him in AM and another good set of points for him. Luke McEwen just misses out on pole position, which goes to Mike Horder. He's finished 23rd. Jeroen Kaiser 24th ahead of Team Perry. James Whitehouse, Ben Gregory, Paul Webster, Jack Sedgwick and Chris Wood round out your top 30. Just Payne Wilkinson for BRM in 31st ahead of Michael Blake. Simon Field with Lars Van Rijn. Adam State, Jack Belton, Simon Neller, John Roberts, Nick Solaputis and Craig Jones round out your top 40. And they still come. Jack Osborne then 41st ahead of Adam Hedgecock with Robert Lundgren, Martin de Jong, Matt Woodhouse, who we saw have issues out there, Jonathan Walker as well, another one who had issues, Tony Draper, Toby Ward, Kevin Kittleman and Brendan Stacey. Brian Krohn with Nathan Healy and Eric Haag, the last drivers who finished on the lead lap. Two DNFs for you out there, David Michael Nichols and Bradley Hulse. So that is race number 1 of this evening. We've got 2 more races coming up for you here today in the World GT Championship here, Peter. And, well, I mean, it was a bit chaotic to start with, but then it kind of settled down, didn't it, out there?
Yeah, once the field got into their rhythm, it did seem to coexist quite well. And at the front, we saw, you know, Andretti just put just a little bit of time into McFarlane, just bit by bit chipping away and building that lead up as well. But Luke McEwen's got to be really fizzing right now as well to finish 23rd. Reverse grid was 21, so close to getting into that, but we knew it would be close. Whereas his championship rival Josh Thompson in finishing 14th, so he'll start, you know, in the 4th row for the second race. Great opportunity for Josh to close that gap a bit to Luke McEwen in the championship race.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 more races coming up. You do not want to go anywhere. If you've never seen the World GT Championship, the format for tonight is 3 20-minute sprint races. We have a week off next week in the championship, and then we're going to be back to an endurance race around Bathurst. I mean, that's got me rubbing my hands with delight, Peter. That's going to be an absolute humdinger because, of course, this coming weekend on RaceSpotTV, we've got the Bathurst 12 hours, the iRacing Bathurst 12 hours coming up this weekend. GT3 cars out there. It's going to be an absolute cracker.
I can't wait. And I think we're going to be on in the box together for the opening portion of the race, which I'm looking forward to. Paul, Will and Peter, yeah. If you've been in an accident, call us and you have a no-win, no-fee. No, we don't do that. But it does mean for our drivers in the World GT Championship is they'll have lots of mileage, they'll have lots of preparation, and they'll have the setups a bit like we had at Daytona a couple of weeks ago. I think it's fantastic, and I think we'll see who's going to be king of the mountain. And it's such a tough racetrack, and even just getting to the end of that Bathurst 12 hour is tough. But to win it, you've got to be flawless.
I mean, the walls are just completely unforgiving. I know that through experience around there. It's just one little mistake over the top of the mountain, and you're just a passenger at that point. And we've seen it so many times, haven't we, at the Liquimolly 12 hours of Bathurst. It's really just an intense, full-on race, and you have to have full concentration for that 12 hours.
You do, and I love the fact that it starts in the darkness and then you watch the sun come up as the cars whiz by. I mean, that's one thing on the bucket list, is to sit at the top of the mountain with a barbecue, watching the sun come up as GT3 cars come roaring by, you know, in flying formation. I'd love to have been there to see the Bentleys win. That was very cool. But actually, Paul, you and I are of a certain vintage where we would say I'd love to have gone and see Rickard Rydell's pole lap for the Bathurst 1000 in the Volvo B40, S40, not V40, S40. That five-cylinder drone, perfect.
And John Clowland and David Brock teaming up in the Holden, as it was badged over there. Of course, a Vauxhall in the UK and Opel in Europe. So it's a tremendous venue that just evokes great memories and certainly a place of history. And of course, it is actually, the 12 hours is on my bucket list of endurance races to go and watch. Obviously, I want to go and watch the 1000k as well. But the 12 hours would be something special with it being night into day. And of course, this year they have delayed it slightly, so due to the global pandemic. So that means that actually we're going to get a bit more night time at the start of the race, aren't we?
Of course, because of course Southern Hemisphere, yes, they're heading into their winter months. It'd be different with the temperature across the day as well. It's going to be quite a different feeling for the Bathurst 12 hour as well. And I tell you what, since it's on both of our bucket lists, Paul, why don't we do Race Spot on tour? We had broadcast from 35,000 feet, us sitting talking rubbish the whole flight, the poor person who has to sit next to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, God, could you imagine that, having to sit next to us too? I mean, first of all, I don't sleep on planes, so I mean...
Neither do I.
I've been on a flight to Australia before, and it was just, yeah. It took me a few days to come around and that. I went over for the Grand Prix in 2014, the first year of the turbo hybrid era, the first Grand Prix of the turbo hybrid era. Yeah, we're just waiting for. We're just getting breaking news from Hugo Luis. Leandro Andaruti is Swiss, not Italian.
So he's like a Raffaele Marciello.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Raffaele Marciello is Italian, but runs under a Swiss license.
Yeah. So, of course, Switzerland, do they still ban motorsport? Because I know that they had the Formula E in Bern, didn't they, a few years ago? And they have like hill climbs as well, don't they, in Switzerland now?
Yes, yeah. So that's right. Hill climbing is allowed. That's allowed, but motor racing isn't. I think in Bern it was a special dispensation, I think. But yes, it's been banned since the 1950s after there was a lot of big accidents in the world of motor racing. But so many great drivers come from Switzerland as well, of course. Alain Menu, I would throw him into that into that mix.
I would say.
Do you believe he lives about 2 or 3 miles from Knockhill?
Really? Mm-hmm. Blimey. Things you learn from Peter Mackay. It was, of course, the thing that really put the nail in the coffin in terms of motorsport for Switzerland was, of course, the huge accident at Le Mans back in, what was it, 54, 55, I think it was, one of the two. And they basically just went, nope, that's it. We're not having any motorsport in our country. We are just filling a little bit of time here at the moment, just whilst we wait for the race server to come up here. So it's just having to be patient here, Peter. But if ever you want 2 people to fill a bit of time on RaceSpotTV, well, I mean, you've got the choice right here.
We should say hello to those watching on the behind-the-scenes stream.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, we have got a little bit of a behind-the-scenes stream. Catch it whilst you can. And if you do want to watch the video on demand, I think that that will be hidden for all but members in the future. So, there's ways of you getting to be a part of that. But certainly join us whilst we can and give us your thoughts. I mean... we've got people saying, in the main chat saying, bet Luke will be annoyed. It's a better start than last race. I mean, yeah, Luke McEwen, he'll be annoyed that he got caught up in that instant. But let's face it, Peter, when you're going 5 wide into the turn 1 at the Senna S, you're kind of expecting there to be people trip over each other. Yes,
that's entirely understandable for that to happen. And that's why the starting from the back of the grid is such a stern penalty. And Luke was clearly in a hurry to make moves. He did so. He was, he put himself in the position to get those moves done, and he was just unlucky. It could have could have worked out differently, and he would have got through, and he would have been up there finishing in the top 10 even, because he did clear so many spaces. But that's motor racing. But at least he's a little bit further up the pack this time. Let's see what he can do in this race too. We might see a bit of McEwen magic here.
Well, I mean, we are here at Interlagos for this third round of the championship here, the first of the sprint events. As I've mentioned, we've got Valentine's night off, so you don't need to ask for permission to spend time in racing rather than with your significant other. So you can got that Monday off. But then 2 weeks' time, Mount Panorama for an endurance race. 1 hour, 45-minute race around Mount Panorama. So definitely worth putting that in your calendar. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for a feature round, Peter, on February the 28th. We've not really brought up that round of the championship. We've not really focused on that much, but it really is quite a tricky track to get right. And of course, those walls. It's like racing around Monaco.
It is, but just a lot faster. Yeah, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is really, really tough, and also there's a lot of long braking zones, so there is opportunities for drivers to go in and kind of dive bomb. And then that obviously causes problems in itself. So that will be, I would think that would be a race of attrition. Of course, last season we had an endurance race at Detroit Belle-Isle, which was certainly tough for those involved. Jack Sedgwick winning that in the then new Ferrari Evo. But yeah, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve at Montreal, an F1 circuit, is going to be very, very tough. And coming down to that last chicane, how many times have we seen a race coming down to that last Wallow Champion chicane?
Absolutely. We'll then go on to the Hungaroring for a sprint round. The first time that the championship has gone to the Hungaroring, and it's actually a race track which has seen quite a lot of GT racing over the years, and it's certainly, I think it's an underrated track, is the Hungaroring. I certainly enjoy doing laps around there and racing around there. Yes, it's difficult to overtake. That's part of the charm of it, I suppose, really. Of course, first hosted a Grand Prix back in 1986. It was the first Grand Prix held behind the Iron Curtain back in 1986. Then we have a week off after that before we head on over to Sebring. A classic endurance event is Sebring. And really here, Peter, it's... I mean, what better place to go and race than Sebring?
It's paradise, isn't it? Sebring has so much heritage and so much history. The circuit itself, you wouldn't think an airfield circuit would be really very interesting, but Sebring just changes that theory on its head. I mean, the bumps, the technicality of the circuit, and the 12-hour race there is just iconic. So delighted we're going there for an enduro round. And again, Sunset Bend particularly, so easy to lose it there, hit a bump that you just didn't quite expect, and round you go. It's a real challenge for the drivers, and particularly for the teams getting the cars set up correctly. Sebring is always a real challenge to get the car dialed in.
Circuit de la Sarthe will be a special round of the championship, mainly because it's my birthday that day, so I'll be 38 years young on that day, but it's certainly one of my favourite tracks in the world of motorsport is Circuit de la Sarthe. Then we get another round of sprint races after that at Mossport, again another really underrated track in my opinion. An endurance race around the Watkins Glen Classic Boots. That's going to be without the bus stop chicane, if I'm correct about that one. Hockenheim, and then the Red Bull Ring rounds out the end of the championship. We are still waiting for the session to go up. Unfortunately, it's I'm going to go him under the bus a little bit. Alex Neller, it's his first time that he's hosted a round of this championship. So I think it's just taken a little bit of time just to get that set and make sure that it's correct. We did get asked a question. Get the old teeth in there, Paul. From LSRTV, are we looking forward to rain for road racing in the future on iRacing?
I am. I mean, you can't put not kill on the circuit and not have rain. What you have, the one and the other comes together. I think it's a fantastic addition. I know that it was a difficult. Well, I've heard that it was a difficult decision for iRacing because it does put a lot more pressure through a competitor's computer or operating system. So it then raises the level of entry of type of machine that you need to run that level of detail. So that's something that's going to be a factor. But I, for one, cannot wait to see what the job that iRacing have done, because they're so good at everything else, mapping the circuits in incredible reality, getting the cars to feel as close as possible to the real thing. So rain is probably the biggest challenge that iRacing have faced in 15 years or more in existence, and the one thing is for sure, I think they'll nail it. So I'm looking forward to getting some wet touring car laps at Knockhill.
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, I will say I was working on the stream where they sort of gave us that little bit of a first look at rain in iRacing, and I mean, Justin and Connery were like little giddy school children in a sweet shop. They were just absolutely just loving it, and it was tremendous, and it was great to hear what sort of challenges that they're having to work to, as you point out there, looking at how it's going to affect their user base in terms of the hardware and things like that. So it's going to add a dynamic. The thing for me is endurance racing. I think it's going to add that enough of dynamic. I mean, you look at the Rolex 24 this year, how the weather affected practice, for example, in that series. So you had that effect there. Who can forget the Nürburgring getting red flagged for just a veritable hailstorm halfway around the track, where drivers couldn't even get up the hill on their slick tyres. It was that bad. So you think of the endurance events that iRacing host here, the special events, having that mixture of rain thrown in there as well, of potential of rain, it just adds a whole new dynamic.
It does, and I think it's going to be a great thing for some of the endurance racing at the very top level of sim racing, because the teams now are so well established and so good. Between Williams and Coanda and Apex, and there's I know I'm going to miss some, but there's a huge long list of really top professional sim racing teams with top drivers that they're very rarely making mistakes, and they're all so closely matched. So you end up getting a 12-hour endurance race where it's just like 12 individual sprint races with each stint, and that is incredibly impressive. But it does. Predictable is not the right word, but it does take away storylines. Whereas if there's going to be a burst of rain, do you risk it on the slicks? Do you come in and put wet tires on? That's something that brings us even closer to what the real thing would offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said earlier, it just adds that little bit of a curveball, doesn't it? That little bit of a, if somebody thinks outside the box and maybe has the car set up a little bit more safely for those endurance races, and then there's a quick burst of rain comes down in the middle of the night, you got people spinning off left, right and centre, and you're able to just hold on to it and keep it going in the right direction. You can just gain so much through that, just being the right people at the right time on the right tyres, and it works out perfectly. And that's what I love about endurance racing. It's not just about being as fast as you can out there for 12, 24 hours, 10 hours if you're doing Petit Le Mans. It's about combating the elements, combating your competitors, and combating the car as well, to try and keep that car going for the 24 hours.
Yeah, and I think we'll actually maybe see there'll be drivers, especially in the early days of rain coming to iRacing Simulator, I think you're gonna get Rainmeisters in the early, and then eventually the top teams will all work it out, and everyone will be quick in the rain. But for the first little while, my prediction is that you're going to get kind of rain specialists in those early stages, and that's where you put your Rainmaster in when the rain falls. But having that flexibility in your lineup's going to be important as well. But a super addition. Hats off to the iRacing team, and there are other simulators that have had rain for a while, but we know iRacing, they want to do everything to the detail that they expect, and they've taken their time with this, and I'm very excited to see what how it goes and what it feels like. We've all driven on wet roads before, I suppose, or a wet track, or go kart, or but you've driven in
go kart. I've done a go kart in the wet.
See, so you know what it's like when you just hit that puddle that you didn't quite see in the dark, and you go into an aquaplane and you need a change of underpants. So it's this kind of, I'm looking forward to see how that comes across.
I mean, the one time that I drove in the wet in a go kart, it was that sort of miserly damp, so it wasn't full wet. It hadn't cleaned all the rubber and everything off of the track, so you were just like an ice skating rink. It was just absolute hell. And I was actually following, so it was on a practice session on a Friday evening down at Milton Keynes. I was following Josh Thompson, and I thought, oh, he's a karter. I'll follow his lines and see where to go in the wet, and he went straight on. And I nearly followed him off, so...
Oh dear, I don't think Josh would have thanked you for that, for you landing on top of him in the barrier.
Well, let's just say that even with my considerable mass, I still didn't have any grip out there in the wet. It was a miserable evening, that was, and it didn't get much better for me for the rest of the weekend. But the less I say about that, the better. Apparently, we're getting close to the session. In fact, the session has been launched, which is great news. That means that we're not having to vamp as much for much too longer here, but let's look forward to this next race. Second race. I mean, we've got a third race of the evening yet to go here, everybody, so we've got to think of things to talk about in the next one. But second race of the evening, reverse grid. Some of these newer drivers now have had experience of a reverse grid for the first time last week, and it was a full reverse grid, don't forget. That was spectacular. This week, how will they sort of use that knowledge and take that and apply that into this race?
Well, it's when you're deep in the pack, you just have to try and keep your wits about you and just try and get through those opening laps. Although it's only a sprint race, you still just got to survive the opening lap or two, and it's also keeping an eye on who is around you. And what their pace is relative to you, whether they're quicker or whether they're slower. I think that perception and that knowledge of what certain drivers are like, how they conduct themselves on track, and who you can trust, maybe who you can't, that detail and that preparation is going to be really important to getting the best result out of this.
Absolutely. Well, we are getting ourselves into the server here, so for those of you who have been watching on the behind the scenes stream, you'll be able to see exactly what's going on, and you won't have heard anything from Hugo, but I'm sure he's been just sitting there quietly, just panicking and twiddling the fingers waiting for it to come up. But you sometimes have these sort of technical issues happen in race events like this, but we are getting ourselves ready for this second race. Now, I can tell you that first race, the track temperature just kept on ramping up throughout that first race. Second race of the day, it's going to be later in the day, so it's going to be even hotter, I would imagine, that track temperature here. How is that going to really affect these drivers? Because you said that GT cars, you could push the tyres a bit harder in these sprint races. Temperature, though, that can have an adverse effect on these tyres here in these cars.
Yes, it can. You're right. If you spike the temperature in the tyre, it's very difficult to get it cooled back down again. Whether that be from you shouldn't be locking the brakes with the anti-lock braking systems on a GT3 car. But if you have a big slide, that can put a bit of a spike in temperature through the tire. I have to say, for those with the benefit of the behind-the-scenes stream, I like Leandro Anderuti's hat. It's like a boat hat. Yeah, it's very cool. It's like he could be in a 90s like sort of angst teen pop video with that hat on. Like it's like Sugar Ray or something.
Yeah, he certainly has got that sort of dapper look, and we've got all the drivers
Kevin and
on.
Perry.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's going back a little bit. Peter, you're showing your age.
Won't we, Kev?
But we are getting ourselves into the server here, and we've got about, looking at my timing screen, we've got about 4.5 minutes before the start of the race. So yeah, we've just got a little bit of time. There'll be cars out on track for us to see, and basically the drivers have got to get themselves acclimatized, because I can tell you, Peter, I'm looking at my timing screen here, partly cloudy, 26.5 degrees air temperature, 53.3 degrees Celsius track temperature. Good luck, drivers. That's all I'll say.
Ironically, that'll be like driving on ice, because that excessive temperature makes the track so slick. And do you know, normally you see in these 5-minute warm-up sessions that drivers, they're normally not that busy on track. Drivers usually go to the toilet, go and have a drink or whatever. But actually, these 5 minutes are going to be vital to just get out there and just get a feeling of where the grip is, and probably more accurately where it isn't.
Yeah, so drivers acclimatizing themselves. This is some drivers like to spend this time just getting as many laps in as possible to get a feel of the conditions. Some drivers actually just like to take a bit of a break, but to be honest, because we had such a break between the two races, I think that basically they're just going to be out there, just get a couple of laps in, see how the car feels, see if you need to make any adjustments. 10 minutes is not a long time to get a feel of your car in these conditions, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all. This is really critical track time, and you've got to make the most of it. Especially with that leap in track temperature as well, and particularly in the early laps with the rolling start. Oof, it could get very messy. If you see somebody spin in the mid pack, it could be carnage. Now, we have not had. Oh no, and actually, shall I say it? Yeah, I'll say it, why not? We haven't had a safety car yet this season.
Well done, Peter.
I'm just simply asking a question, that's all. I don't think we have we?
No, we haven't. We've not had the safety car this season.
Let's hope it stays that way, but if there's going to be if there's a chance of one, this is certainly one where it is more of a threat than normal, I would say.
Well, what I would say about that as well is that it also gives people who had that reverse grid a better chance of a good result as well, because it takes away a bunch of time from the race. Only a 20-minute race, remember? So you take away 3 laps behind a safety car around here, you're practically halving the race, aren't you, Peter?
Yeah, it does certainly reduce it for quite a bit if you get stuck behind the safety car. But if you have an issue earlier on and it comes out, it could be a little bit of a gift from wherever. So it's let's see what happens. We did see a little bit of a pile up at turn 1 in race 1. Will the same happen again here? Well, we shall see. And of course, right in the middle of that pack are our race 1 podium finishers. They're going to be starting from 23rd, 22nd, and 21st. So, yes, from 21st, 20th, and 19th. My apologies. Yeah, it's going to be tough for them.
Certainly is. Well, we're counting down the seconds towards the start of this race. Hopefully Alex Nella has set the session right and we've got a rolling start, because that would be the end of time if it's not correct. And I have seen it before previously in this series, by the way, that we had a standing start because of a mistake by the admins, and I think it's the fastest I've ever read through a grid before. Here are your drivers, by the way, who are giving you some extra pictures, a little bit of look at how they're driving. There you see race 1 winner Leandro Angelotti with the sunglasses and the hat on. Oh, he's sunning it up out there. And of course the Swiss driver, he's certainly enjoying himself. The rest of your drivers up on screen as well. You've got Adam Hedgecock up there, Jonathan Walker, there's Adam Watson, Josh Thompson as well. I think Michael Evdoka up there as well. Whoever that is on the middle row on the right hand side, they sit incredibly close to their screen, but if it works for them, it works for them. Anyway,
Angelotti looks like he's about to...
Nick Solopoutis, there we go. Thank you very much, Hugo, for letting me know who that is. We have got a reverse, we have got a rolling start, which is a godsend for us, because it means it gives me a bit of time to go through the grid. So it's Mike Horder who's on pole position with Alex Nella alongside him. Now, he was disappointed last week at Silverstone after an incident in the first race after qualifying so high up the grid. James Crouch and Pete Howard with Matt Hutchinson and Andy Archie atop AM on the grid in 6th place. Lee Berridge then, who won the AM class in race number 1, he's 7th alongside him, Josh Thompson. Chris van der Ness and Ashley Finch with Adam Volkovich and Bruno Canero. David Baker, Christian Rose with Lewis Ward and Adam Watson. Michael Evdoka and Reece Saunders round out row number 9. Row 10, Marvin Lesmolen and Ross McFarlane with Leandro Angelotti, a race 1 winner in 21st. And then the rest starts as they finish. Christian Malsharek, Luke McEwen, Joran Kaiser, Tim Perry, James Whitehouse, Benjamin Gregory, Paul Webster, Jack Sedgwick and Chris Wood. Jesse Payne, Wilkins, Michael Blake, Simon Field, Lars Van Rijn with Adam State and Jack Belton. Simon Nella, John Roberts, Nick Salapoutis and Craig Jones, Jack Osborne and Adam Hedgecock round out row number 21. Robert Lundgren, Martin de Jong, Matt Woodhouse, Jonathan Walker, Tony Draper and Toby Ward. Kevin Kittleman with Brendan Stacey, Brian Crone with Nathan Healy, Eric Haag and David Michael Nichols, and Bradley Hulse once again on the rear of the grid. And we've got the pace truck at the head of the field, normally seen in the dirt events, but it's out here for the World GT Championship race number 2, so obviously not enough petrol in that Porsche 911 Cup car that we normally see at the head of the field here, Peter.
I love it. Great to see the pace truck making an appearance. I always remember that's a colleague of ours, Marco Barbonera. That was always his stamp on a setup, on a session being set up, was the pace truck. So the it's unbranded, but it looks very Chevy Silverado-ish to me.
It is a Chevy, yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. So front row, it's boosted Farage, 1st and 2nd place. They've got to be careful. They're holding the pack back a little bit here. They're being very canny about this. They're not wanting to... They want to try and get a jump here, and they'll be talking to each other, their teammates. So come across the line. The green flag will be getting raised once again. Banning the flag man. It's go time here in race number 2 of the evening for the World GT Championship. Down towards turn number 1. It's Mike Horder and Alex Nella in towards the centre S for the first time. 3, 4, 5 wide through turn number 1. Can we make it through cleanly? So far, so good. Through Curva de Sol for the first time. And onto this back straightaway. Josh Thompson is making some moves. You can see the BMW working its way through. Oh, we've got Simon Field and others caught up in an instant further back. Big accident. Road's still clear though. So we stay green for the time being as out of Interlagos for the first time. And it's a battle for 2nd place. Alex Nella and James Crouch fighting it out. Into Ferradura for the first time here, Peter, and Crouch looking to the inside.
Oh, Crouch thought about it there, but decided at the last moment no, to think about it another day in the black and green Evo SR Ferrari. But, well, it looked like the field had got through clean, and then all of a sudden, bang, the big one just went off at the back of the pack. So we'll let the dust settle on that one until we see who has all been caught up in that. But Crouch in third position in that Ferrari, chasing down the two Lamborghinis, the boosted Lamborghinis of Mike Horder and Alex Neller. Who's Alex? I think will be quite glad to be getting back to driving after the what should we say, administrative challenges.
Well, there'll be accusations of bias in terms of the grid, but of course it was set by ourselves in towards the centre S. Neller is under pressure from Crouch. Crouch is under pressure from Thompson. He's almost going to make two places up in one go. Contact, bang, bang, there's door banging. More paint swapping going on here. And Lee Berridge is trying to go around the outside of all of them in all of this. Thompson's up to third. Berridge up to fourth, with Hutchinson up to fifth, and well, flash of the headlights from Crouch. He's not happy with all of that. He's got Freight Train down to sixth place there through Curva de Sol, through Descida de Lago once again, and uphill towards Ferradura. Big pack of cars, but Mike Horder is trying to run away at the front here.
He is indeed, and I think Josh Thompson's going to have done well to get away without a damage there, because there was quite a lot of contact coming through the Senna S as well. It doesn't seem to be holding him back, mind you, so if there is, it's not too serious right now for that 49 BMW Josh Thompson. But remember, of course, started started in, it would be 7th position, so he's made a few spots up into third already, so great opportunity for the Manxman. But McFarlane, what a start from the championship defending champion. He's up into 11th already, so a great start from McFarlane from 20th on the grid. Let's have a look at the big one.
Yeah, here's what happened. So it was contact between two. Oh, an innocent party and all of that was the 87, and that of course is Chris Wood in this Immortal outfit. There were others involved further down as well. Matt Woodhouse has been on pit road, so too has Nick Salaputis, Adam State, Kevin Kittleman, Brian Crone, Chris Wood, as we just saw, Bradley Hulse and Jonathan Walker have all had to take their fast repair here, and we've got car on pit exit right as the pack comes down here. You've got to be careful when you're coming off a pit road. You can look in the background. Look, McEwen, he's making some moves in all of this. He's fighting with a Pure Sims car, and that's Michael Evdoka.
Wow, yeah, McEwen taking plenty of risk in the back there, but he's got no choice. He's got to get a move on, and he's making progress. McEwen now up into 17th place, and from 23rd on the grid, and sets then he's on the now 16th place. He's the fastest car on the track at the moment. Go on.
I was going to say, crucially, he's made it ahead of Leandro Andaruti, our race 1 winner as well.
Yeah, Andaruti's got work to do. Oh, that's a little bit of bumping and barging going on there with the Evo SR Ferraris. And who's that? Oh, Pete Harrod off for Century Sim Racing.
Oh, Shy Pete. He's sent off into the grass. And that's a bit of a nightmare up at Bica de Pato. There's Adam Watson that we are looking at right now. He has actually told me that he's running just a little bit more rear wing. It's giving his car stability, but the problem is that when you come to this section of the track, if he's not got the slipstream, he's just a sitting duck, isn't he?
Yeah, you can see Adam there looking really studying his back and forth from his rear view mirror. Like his eyes are just on stocks there, because he knows he's vulnerable on the straight, but and has to give best to the Ferrari of Chris Van Den Ness. Yes, Chris Van Den Ness in the number 32 right there at the head of shot. Now, can he get it back in the infield? Better on the brakes. But there's and there goes McCar. Better on the brakes, but McFarlane even better. My goodness me.
Yeah, it was Evdoka. Evdoka who made the move.
No, it's McFarlane.
Oh, it's McFarlane. Yes, it is. Sorry, you're right there, Peter. And they sort themselves out. Watson has managed to carry on fighting here. Porsche taking a very wide line, Team Mad car. Yes, I am biased, but I do think that is a good-looking livery on that Team Mad car. But the Pure Sims car of Ross McFarlane, of course, champion from last season. He's trying to make his way past Adam, not finding any way by, and there's Luke McEwen fighting it out with Ashley Finch side by side with the Pure Sim SimLab car. So they are going too wide into Junsao. and McEwen has made it past Finch, who runs wide, and that's going to allow Anderuti to make the move as well.
Might have a change for the lead very soon, because Josh Thompson has set the fastest lap of the race and is up to second position, and in fact, just as I say that, goes to the top of the timesheets, gets the move done on Mike Horder. So Josh Thompson leads here at Interlagos in race 2, and with 13 minutes to go, he's just got to hit his marks now. He's got great pace underneath that BMW, and if he comes on and tells us, Paul, that the car felt horrible, we're gonna have to call him out on it, I think.
I think every car is going to feel horrible in this second race, because I can tell you right now that the track temperature has actually increased to 56.7 degrees.
Wow.
That's incredible. Those tyres are going to be like marshmallows by the end of this race, I feel. They're just going to be just not giving you any grip whatsoever. And, well, that was McEwen making his way past. Up into 10th place already from 24th on the grid. So he's making moves and making them fast. And there's Anderuti. He seems to, I think he's slung a hook around the rear wing of McEwen's car and said, right, tow me along, boy. I want to gain some positions here.
All I can hear is Madness songs in my head now. He's like, I'll be driving in my car.
Fortunately, that wasn't close. That wasn't accurate enough to get us a copyright strike, thankfully.
There you go.
But I know what you mean. Yes, it's a very sort of Madness look is that. But yeah, he's doing the right thing though. Yes, McEwen made his way past earlier on in this race, but he's hanging on with him as Hutcherson around the outside into the centre S with Alex Neller. Alex trying to hold on to it. He's got the inside for cover to Sol, so gets the run out the corner. But that Ferrari, that Evo SR Ferrari, looks to be very, very good against Alex Neller.
It does, yeah. These Evo SR machines looking very strong, absolutely. I think with this track temperature, I think it's going to be very difficult for the drivers of the Audi R8, particularly Anderuti and Lesmolen, because that car is, it has a lot of good attributes. It's got decent pace at the moment, but it is a pretty spiky car. It's quite unforgiving, and when it gets into you can't really let it move around because it'll just snap back on you. So I've got to think with this high track temperature, that's going to be a lot of hard work. And Anderuti, remarkably relaxed.
McEwen's dropping down my timing screen. Something's happened to the Logitech GLTC Sports driver, and he's dropped down to, I'm looking on my time screen here, 19th. So he's gone from 10th to 19th there. So something has happened there whilst we were on board with Anderuti. And hopefully we'll have Hugo quickly getting us a replay to be able to tell us. Here we go. Went for the move. It wasn't really on there.
No, but that's the risks you kind of have to take in the position that Luke McEwen's in. He took his punishment from last week and had to start at the back of the grid. Got unlucky in race 1, and yeah, it's just all kind of unravelled. Whereas for his championship rival Josh Thompson, well, it just couldn't be going on a great deal better.
Did I just see a car upside down in the background of shot then through turn number 1? I think I did. And looking at my timing screen, Chris van der Ness has taken a tour back to the pits. So something has happened in turn 1 as we watch this battle for 3rd place. And in fact, here we go. Here's what's happened. Oh, Audi into the back of the Ferrari and up and over.
That was Leandro Anderuti, a race 1 winner, and that will be, I would think, a pretty stern penalty. So we saw Luke McEwen getting sent to the back of the grid after his incident at Silverstone, and will we see the same thing for Anderuti next week? I would think we're not the I was about to say we're not the race steward. I'm not the race steward, but you would think in terms of consistency, Anderuti runs the risk of having a severe penalty for that.
Well, I'm not a race steward for this series. I'm for the touring cars, but not for this one, thankfully.
Oh, have fun.
So, yes. But, yeah, that's a change position then. So Mark Hutchinson up into 3rd place. Josh Thompson leads this race with 9 minutes remaining. He's got a 2.1 second lead over Mike Horder, who's the top Pro-Am driver in 2nd place. Mark Hutchinson then, who's moved up into 3rd, is your 2nd place Pro-Am driver, although he's under pressure from Alex Nella behind. Oh, that was getting a bit tight. And look at that around the outside. Bruno Canero, what a move. Carries the speed, squeezes Alex Nella on the inside of Curva de Sol. He's trying to force his way through. Now, Canero is a very aggressive driver. He has got the pace, but he can be a little bit over-aggressive. Speaking of aggressive, Adam Watson into the side of the Evo SR Ferrari. Oh, he's not happy, is Adam. He's not happy at all. Now, is he going to try and give the place back? We'll have to wait and see, but that was a little bit ambitious there.
Well, I'm not sure. I think there was something there. We didn't quite see all of that incident, really. It was already beginning. I think there's maybe something that happened in front and Watson had to dive to the inside to try and take avoiding action. Oh, it gets a little nudge from behind from the number 1 of Ross McFarlane in the Pure Sims Lamborghini there. But yeah, there was something afoot there as well. And Watson leaves the door open. But of course, here at Interlagos, you can do that and then get the ideal line for the next corner. So let's try and see what happened here for Watson.
Nice. Oh, they're both going for a move. The Ferrari was going for a move on the boosted Farage car, and Watson was going for a move on the Ferrari.
And Watson was already committed. That's the thing, is and then I don't think he quite expect a Ferrari to jump in front of him when he's committed to the braking zone. I would call that a racing incident, to be honest.
Yeah, having the ability to look back at it, yeah. I think I would agree with you on that one. But as we go through the CNRS into Curva de Sol, 3 wide, that's a bit ambitious, isn't it? Well, McFarlane, it's a McFarlane sandwich between Adam Watson and Alex Nella. Nella, who's been struggling out there a little bit since he lost his 3rd place. Oh, a little bit close between the two of them into Descida del Lago. And look at this, Watson, he's going for it. Oh, there's a Evo SR car off to the side there.
Who is that?
I think that's Van der Nest just getting out of the way, possibly.
Okay. All I can think of right now is that Adam Watson must be absolutely boiling with that hoodie on, because this is an intense battle, and he's having to work hard at that wheel, and he's going, I don't care if you're the defending champion, Ross McFarlane. If you want to get by me, you're going to have to earn it, pal. And Watson driving with real tenacity, and McFarlane must be ripping his hair out here, going, come on, I've got to get going, I've got to go. Josh Thompson's miles up the road. It looks like McFarlane's just about got it here. He's got the move sealed, but runs a little bit wide on the exit, and here we go. Oh, it catches Watson out.
And that is going to affect Watson now, isn't it? Because he had to get off the power, and you could see him. He was looking in his mirrors because he can see that boosted Farage car right behind of Alex Nella, and then the rest of the field coming up behind as well. So we're heading into the final 5 minutes of this race, and this has been really intense stuff here in the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV. Paul Smith and Peter Mackay, delighted to have you company with Hugo Luis behind the scenes on production here today. Watson able to stay ahead, and now Nella is actually going on the defensive against Ashley Finch.
Yeah, indeed he is trying to keep Finch behind the charging bulls. It's like looking in the mirror of Adam Watson's Porsche is like looking at down the alleyway in the Pamplona Bull Run. They're all charging up behind him, but oh dear. But Watson fighting so hard, and he's gone back off in hot pursuit, and he's all over the back of McFarlane again. Brilliant stuff from Adam Watson, and interestingly, we don't see Ross McFarlane make mistakes very often. And whoa, there's Avdoka around.
Yep, Avdoka getting helped around, I think it's safe to say. He's back up and running. But when you're in a pack like that, because they were all sort of too wide pretty much in the entirety of that pack, it's so easy to just get a little tap and around you go.
Yeah, very easy indeed. And yeah, just coming back to the point on McFarlane, that last corner, we don't see him make mistakes very often there, but I just think it's that track temperature. It's such a high track temperature that so easy to make a mistake, and bosh, there it goes. That was Lee Berridge. And then that held up, I think, Les Molin as well on the way through. As Andy Rutti's made great progress up to 4th.
And he's fighting. He's fighting for a podium here, but Bruno Canero behind has got a tremendous run through the Senna S. He's trying to get a run on both of these drivers. So it's Mark Hutchinson in 3rd place for Evo SR. You've got the German SimRacing.de driver of Leandro Anderuti. Then you've got the 3M driver of Bruno Canero right behind, a 3-car pack for the final step of the podium. 3.5 minutes remaining here in this race. I make it about 2.5 laps remaining in this one. Just to point out, your top Pro-Am is Mike Horder in 2nd place. Your 2nd place Pro-Am is Hutchinson, who we're seeing right in front of us. And look at that. You just saw that Lamborghini, that 3M Lamborghini. Oh, contact into the back of Hutchinson. Well, that's a bit rude there. And around goes Hutchinson. Meanwhile, Anderuti just runs away and goes, "Me, officer? I did nothing."
Oh, I think Anderuti is going to have to... He's going to be called up to the steward's room, and they're going to say, "Take that stupid hat off, and take those sunglasses off as well. Who do you think you are?" It's not a stupid hat. It's just what your school teacher would have said if you're in trouble.
It reminds me of the classic episode of The Simpsons with Mr. Burns saying, "Shave those sideburns."
Never saving my sideburns. No chance.
Well, Adam Watson. He's got a few locks of hair, a little bit more than myself and Peter in the commentary box here. He's going through Curva de Sol and heading down the straight. And again, it's that higher wing. You can see that he's just losing ground on Ross McFarlane, but then under braking, corner entry and corner exit is where he's really got the edge, having that little bit more grip.
Yeah, it almost seems that McFarlane's got his car set up very loose. So maybe running a slightly lower wing angle than even the normal. So that's maybe what's causing him to just to lose it in the corner a little bit. And yeah, Watson is absolutely all over him. And of course, this is where you can spring a surprise here. But brilliant stuff regardless from these drivers. But Anderuti up into 3rd for now. But he's got a bit of a cloud hanging over him for 2 real, cut and shut incidents.
Well, I was going to mention that Lee Berridge is his top am, and it's a tremendous drive from Lee to be in 13th. I mean, it was a really good drive in the first race as well, so he's looking good for some decent points for his am championship. Here's Ben Gregory then, battle for 23rd with Chris Malcharek. The Malcharek for the Audi Sport team, Audi Sport Slovakia team, should I say. He, of course, came into this round leading the AM Championship, and he'll be looking for some decent points with Lee Berridge doing so well out there. We've got a driver on pit road, which is Les Smallman. Don't say that he's got a drive-through penalty. I think he possibly has.
Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, that's a drive-through penalty, and that will be for an accumulation of... incident points for Martin Lesmolin. Not been as so good a second race for him. So just 13 seconds left on the clock, and Josh Thompson leading by, well, a colossal nearly 7 seconds as well. A super drive from the Manxman. Yeah,
certainly done a sensational job. And he's coming up to Junsao for the final time in this second race. Of course, one more race to come after this one. Up the hill he goes. And that's going to be Josh Thompson then. Looking forward, he's 7 seconds ahead of Mike Horder. And just no emotion, absolutely no emotion. You've just won a race, you've had to work your way through. It's all in a day's work for Josh Thompson, isn't it? When you look at that picture. Mike Horder, your top Pro-Am there, across the line, flashing the headlights. He's delighted with that. And Anderuti, controversial 3rd place for him ahead of Bruno Canero. Rest of your cars are going to come through. Your top Am, That's going to be Lee Berridge at the line. He flashed the headlights. He's delighted with that. He finishes ahead of Adam Volkovich. Rest of your field working their way through. We've got Michael Blake. It's going to be to the line for Michael Blake here. Across the line together. And that was with less moment. They came across absolutely neck and neck. We'll have to wait and see. A few more cars coming round for the final time in this race. We're going to see 3 across the line further down in your order. James Crouch, I think, just edged that one out. Tremendous stuff in this second race. A little bit more contact than we would have liked to have seen here, Peter. But certainly plenty of drama in this one.
Oh, yes, there certainly was. And it's interesting when we saw Josh Thompson come over the line there, expressionless after winning the race. But I think it's because you saw him immediately glance to the left, look into his timing screen to see where championship rival Luke McEwen finished. I think that was his first concern when he crossed the line.
Right, well, here we go. Spin of the wheel. Getting ready to decide what is going to be our reverse grid. Are we going to have our first no reverse grid? No, we're not. It's going to go through that. It's a relatively high one. 27 is going to be the reverse grid. We'll get the confirmation with it lighting up yellow. And yes, 27 is the reverse grid. So we'll get you that on your unofficial race results here. And it is Josh Thompson then who wins by 7.7 seconds in this race. Once he got to the lead, he never looked back for the Was Cooking by 3M team. Mike Horder for Boosted Virage started on the front row of the grid and finishes on the front row effectively. Second place for him ahead of Leandro Andaruti. Bruno Canero, Ross McFarlane, Adam Watson, battling Adam Watson it must be said. David Baker quietly into 7th place ahead of Jack Sedgwick. Mark Hutchinson then is the second place Pro-Am in 9th place, and thank you Hugo, I didn't see who it was. It was Alex Neller in 10th place, with Luke McEwen then making his way up to 11th. Lee Berridge, your top Am, in 12th place ahead of Adam Volkovich. Tim Perry then, your next Pro-Am, along behind him was Christian Rose. Michael Evdoka in 16th place, and Andy Archer, second place Am driver for Century Sim Racing, in 17th place. Paul Webster, 18th ahead of Pete Harrod, and Ben Gregory rounds out your top 20. Christian Malsharek then 21st ahead of Lars Van Rijn and Michael Blake. Marvin Lesmorman, who got a drive-through penalty at the end there, down to 24th with Reece Saunders 25th. James Whitehouse, your own Kaiser, who's going to be on pole position for Team Mad, in 27th place ahead of then the rest of your drivers, Simon Ella, Simon Field, David Michael Nichols. Craig Jones with James Crouch, neck and neck across the line. James Crouch with Martin de Jong and Jonathan Walker as well, absolutely with them together. Robert Lundgren with Adam Hedgecock, Ashley Finch, Bradley Hulse, Toby Ward and Brendan Stacey rounding out your top 40. Chris Wood ahead of Brian Krohn with John Roberts, Kevin Kittleman, Tony Draper, Jack Belton, Adam State, Jack Osborne, Nathan Healy, Nick Salaputis, Adam State below, all 1 lap down or more. Matt Woodhouse and Chris Van Den Ness with Jesse Payne Wilkins, Eric Haag and Lewis Ward did not finish in that race. So, hopefully we don't have as much time to fill this time, Peter, but it is 27 is the reverse grid draw. Your own Kaiser then going to be on the front row of the grid with James Whitehouse. So definitely going to be interesting to see how those two get on. It's a Pro-Am and an Am.
Yeah, I think, can you imagine if it had gone to a no reverse grid there? We were 1 click away from it, and well, that would have been dreamland for Josh Thompson, because he would have started on pole for the final race, but instead he'll start from 27th on the grid. That's the the joys and the perils of the spinny wheel. And well, it is reasonably good news for Luke McEwen, championship leader coming into this round. He's had a difficult day of things so far. He finished just outside the top 10, so he'll start further up, and this is his opportunity to at least salvage something out of this meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at those drivers who are going to be starting further up as well. I mean, Marvin Lesmoman, it's actually a blessing is getting that drive-through penalty. That means that he starts on row number, row number 2 of the grid. That's a good opportunity for him and for Reece Saunders. Second row of the grid, 2 pro drivers. They've got a tremendous opportunity to get a win here today.
They do, yeah. You would think for Lesmolan, it's again a good way to bounce back, and that's why I love the racing that we have here, not only in the World GT Championship here, but also in the World Touring Car Series, which we broadcast every Thursday on RaceSpotTV. It's brilliant because you can have a difficult race 1, even a difficult race 2 as well. But if you just get that, you can bounce back and salvage something in race 3. It makes a big difference. So. It's an interesting format, and you've got to be the complete driver to win the championship. Obviously, we have our 20-minute sprints, we have our 40-minute features with a pit stop, and then our hour and 40-minute endurance. I think it's a wonderfully complete test of a driver. I think this World GT Championship.
Yeah, because you've got that strategy play of an endurance race, which, by the way, one of the best endurance races we've had in the World GT Championship was that first round at Daytona. That was tremendous stuff. Then we had Silverstone last week, which again, a little bit of a test of strategy, but also a reverse grid with the 2 40-minute races. Again, it was tremendous evenings racing last week, and this week we're getting treated to something else, that's for sure. Plenty of action out there with the 3 sprint races. So you're right there, Peter. You've got a great mix of the drivers, some that will favour the sprint races, some that will favour those endurance races, and those like Goldilocks who like it just in the middle, just right.
Just right. I've been having quite a lot of porridge actually over the winter. It's good. Yeah. Are you a porridge man too? What do you go plain, or do you put anything on it?
Oh, I like a little bit of a banana in it.
Oh, a little bit, and that gives you a bit of a sugar boost.
Yeah,
and then the heat from the porridge will caramelise the sugar and the banana a bit, and very clever. I'll be honest, I'll try that actually, because I do like banana, and I've just been going plain with the bit where you pour the milk in the bag and what's it called? Oats So Simple.
Yeah, other porridge things are available. Other porridge products are available out there. However you enjoy your rolled oats, eat them responsibly. No, it's just.
As long as they come from Cooper in Fife, because that's where the Quaker Oats factory is, and that's my granddad used to be the gardener there. In fact, sorry, my great granddad used to be the gardener there. More pointless information for you.
Is there anything you don't know, Peter? Just see, a wealth of knowledge is what we would say for yourself. But yeah, we'll look forward to this third race. Can you tell we're going a little bit doolally with it being running late a little bit this round of the championship?
There is a motor racing connection just 10 minutes down the road from there. There's a little village called Kilmeny, which is where Jim Clark was born. So a lot of people think he's a borderer, which of course that's where he spent most of his life. But he actually was born in Fife. And there is a beautiful life-size bronze sculpture of him in Kilmeny. So if you're ever up in Scotland in Fife, it's a motor racing pilgrimage to especially I like going there on the 7th of April to pay my respects.
Well, I could tell you that I used to actually marshal on the Jim Clark Rally in the Borders. I used to marshal on that back in my rally marshalling days. So I always enjoyed my pilgrimage up to Kelso and check out the race course for the service area. We used to have our camping up there as well, up at the race course for the marshals. So it was always a really good event. Yeah, it's one that I always used to look forward to. You don't get that many tarmac asphalt rallies in the UK, and certainly great. Never got to visit the visitor centre, the Jim Clark Museum. Never got to visit it. It was always closed when we were up there, unfortunately. But it is somewhere where I would like to go.
Well, they've of course they've updated they've turned it from what was effectively a kind of trophy and memorabilia room to a full blown museum with Lotus Cortina that Jim won the British Saloon Car Championship in, which is owned by Dario Franchitti nowadays.
Oh, is it really?
There's also there's a Lotus 25 in there as well. There's a simulator with VR. And amazing collection of artifacts. So yeah, could not recommend it higher. If you go to the Borders Jim Clark Museum, it's absolutely fantastic. And the trust, the very, very small group of people put in a Herculean effort to gather the funding to build the facility. It's really a credit to Jim's legacy. So yeah, it's a part of a proper Scottish road trip. That's your first stop if you're coming north.
Absolutely, and don't forget you to pick up your woolen jumpers on the way up through the Borders as well.
Yes.
You always go past it. You see, if you go up through Newcastle and turn left off the A1 and go up that way, up the back way, pick up your wool jumpers.
Yeah.
Peter knows. He knows. And I'm sure everybody from the Borders knows as well. We've got this one more race to go here in this one. You won't need to wear a wool jumper, that's for sure, with how hot the action has been out there, let alone the track temperature. Final race of the evening, is it a case of if you've not had the greatest day, do you just try and just get a result out of it, or do you really try and push on and get as best a result as possible here if it's not gone quite your way?
Yeah, that's the tricky bit, is that how much do you risk? I think for somebody for Luke McEwen, there's only one speed when you're trying to win the championship. You cannot dither. And let's be honest, he's not a ditherer, is he?
No.
He has been okay. Today has not gone his way, but up to now, he's been the kind of really the star of the show in this championship. I mean, Daytona, to win that head-to-head battle with Thompson was just, as you mentioned earlier, was just stunning to watch. Silverstone, he was just on that little edge better, I would say. But today, it just shows you if you just make that one mistake, it can hurt you. I mean, I think I can see from our fans chatting away on our RaceSpotTV YouTube stream, chatting away, and Leandro actually coming in and defending himself. Fair play. I admire your bravery, Leandro. But yeah, it's that's the thing, is that's gonna hurt him. Going forward, what the penalty will be, if there's a penalty, we don't know. But it just shows you that you've got to be quick, but also you've got to keep yourselves out of these incidents too.
You do, that's for sure. We have got the session up. There's about 3.5 minutes remaining before we get going. There's a condition, so it's cooled off a little bit for the drivers out there. We're later on in the afternoon now. 46 degrees track temperature. As I say, the high that we had in that middle race was 56.7 degrees Celsius. So it is incredible how these cars, when the tyres get too hot, they just feel like they're just, as I said earlier in the race, they're on marshmallows. They just feel like that you're ripping them to shreds.
Yeah, the tyres really do take a punish. I mean, here at Interlagos anyway, because you are, there's so many long corners as well where you really are stressing the tyre on both sides. It's not as if even you're stressing just one side. You're really putting a lot of effort through the tyre. So it's just cooled off a little bit, but 46 degrees Celsius is still huge track temperature. So it'll still be a little bit slippy and greasy for these drivers in this final race.
One thing that the drivers will be glad is that because it's a simulator, you don't have all the G-forces that you normally experience, because it is an anti-clockwise or counter-clockwise for our friends across the pond. It's not normal, really, to have a counter-clockwise track, and these drivers, when they race around here in real life, at the end of the race, they feel it in their necks because of these long radius corners, don't they?
Yes, they would do. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, imagine driving an F1 car around here. Woof. You really need a neck of steel. I actually saw the other day a video of Pierre Gasly doing his neck exercises in the gym. I think my neck would literally snap off my shoulders if I tried to do that, and it just looks painful. But yeah, when you wake up and you've slept funny and you wake up with a sore neck, that's what it's like driving an F1 car.
I mean, I'd give it a go. I used to play rugby, so I'd give it a go with that one. I think I'd maybe about half of a rep, possibly, on that one.
That's you've got the Yorkshire neck though. I've just got a weak Scottish little pipe cleaner neck.
Right, we have got a minute and 15 remaining. Don't forget that this is the World GT Championship here, and it is round number 3. The first of your sprint races, sprint events here this evening. And of course, the World GT Championship is supported by 3M, title sponsor for a number of seasons now. And they've been joined this year by Coach Dave Academy, so make sure you check out those 2 sponsors. And also Immortal support the series as well, so make sure you go and check out those brands whilst you're there. And of course, coverage here on RaceSpotTV. Paul Smith, Peter Mackay in the commentary box, with Hugo Luis behind the scenes on the production. And well, we are getting set for this final race of the evening, a 27-car reverse grid. There's our drivers, our wall of drivers that are providing us a behind-the-scenes look at how things are going on. And Leandro's taken the shades off. I mean, he must have. I hope he realises that he does have a brightness control on his monitor there. He can turn down the brightness. It looks like he's sat next to the surface of the sun there.
Yeah, maybe it needs to put the sunglasses back on again, perhaps. But yeah, it's the Swiss Liam Gallagher there is Leandro Andretti.
Well, we are getting ourselves set for this final race, so we'll be able to go through your grid for the final time here this evening. And it is Jeroen Kaiser and James Whitehouse, a Pro-Am and Am on the front row of the grid, with Rhys Saunders and Marvin Lismolman on the second row of the grid, with Michael Blake and Lars van Rijn, row number 3. Row 4 for Chris Malcharek with Ben Gregory, Pete Harrod, Paul Webster share row number 5, and Andy Archer, Michael Avdoka, row number 6. Row 7 for Christian Rose and Tim Perry, with Adam Volkovich and Lee Berridge. Luke McEwen, he'll be hoping for a better result here. And also Hugo, once again, moves it too quickly for me to see that in 18th place, it was, of course, Alex Neller. Mark Hutchinson and Jack Sedgwick with David Baker, Adam Watson, and then Ross McFarlane, Bruno Canero run the next row of the grid, with Leandro Andretti, Mike Horder, Josh Thompson, your race winner from race 2, Simon Neller, Simon Field, and David Michael Nichols, rounding out row number 15. Row 16 for Craig Jones, James Crouch with Martin de Jong and Jonathan Walker, Robert Lundgren and Adam Hedgecock, and Ashley Finch, Bradley Hulse, Toby Ward, Brendan Stacey, Chris Wood, Brian Crone. Still more to come here. John Roberts, Kevin Kittleman, Tony Draper, Jack Belton with Adam Stace and Jack Osborne. And the final few positions here, Nathan Healy, Nick Salaputis, Matt Woodhouse, Chris van der Ness, Jesse Payne, Wilkins and Eric Haag, with Lewis Ward, the final position on the grid. Well, we made it through the grid once again. The Chevy pace truck is out there, and Jeroen Kaiser setting the pace. Final race of the evening, Peter. We've not had any safety cars as of yet. Hopefully we don't get one in this final race, but now I've given it the commentator's curse. Who are we thinking for the race win? Is it going to be Saunders or Lesmolman?
My money's on Lesmolman, I would say.
Don't write them off. Second row of the grid, but also don't write off the rest of them as well. Further down, you've got Pete Harrod. He's a race winner and a champion in the past here in the World GT Championship. Adam Volkovich, 15th. Don't forget Luke McEwen, 17th. Don't write any of them off. But we're getting set for the start of this race. The pace truck will pull off to the side and into pit road. Jeroen Kaiser going to get on the loud pedal for the final time here tonight in the World GT Championship. Gets a good launch compared to James Whitehouse. Whitehouse going defensive on Saunders. Michael Blake looking to the inside of turn 1. Onto the brakes for the first time on this particular race. Down through the centre S we go. 2 wide, 2 by 2 by 2. There's an accident further back. Everybody's still going though. That's good to see. as we go down through Cover de Sol onto the back straight. Adam Hedgecock is off. Oh, and Chris Wood, he's had an absolute nightmare out there today. He's involved in an incident. Oh, big incident. Leandro Anderotti, what on earth happened there?
Well, Anderotti coming in at incredibly excessive speed. I wonder what was going on there. We'll try and get another look from the onboard shot, I think, from Anderotti, because that was, oh dear, be careful, rejoining. And wow, that is a huge incident for Anderotti. So really 0 to 0 after winning race 1 in such confident fashion, and then getting, you know, having a good finish in race 2, but with a couple of controversial tangles. And then, well, then there was that. I mean, the amount of speed that he still had when he approached the corner was extraordinary, Paul. It was like his brake had failed or something.
Well, it's either it looks like a brake failure, or it looks like he missed his braking point, or even he was helped as well. That could well be a possibility in all of that. Luke McEwen, by the way, up to 10th place already through all of that. It was almost like an RKO out of nowhere from Anderotti. Kaiser and Les Moorman across the line at the front, and it's Les Moorman who takes the lead here. Kaiser couldn't hang on at the front, and that allows Les Moorman to work his way past. Saunders is in 3rd place as they go down. And look at the gap actually between them and James Whitehouse. The rest of the field working their way through Cover de Sol. There's a bit of a check-up here, 2-3 wide. Into the brakes, the 93 of Christian Rose there. They've got Jack Sedgwick with him as well. Through, descended Interlagos and up the hill towards Ferradura once again. And the drivers are still sorting themselves out here, Peter. This just shows how intense these reverse grid races are.
Yeah, they're very intense indeed, and I think this is a fascinating situation, because Les Moorman, he's got the clear air now. He's really got to push hard because McEwen is on the move. The gap has been about 4.3 seconds between them since Les Moorman hit the front. The difference is McEwen's obviously got to get his way through another 6 cars, which is what he's setting to work on right now. But this is Les Moorman's opportunity to try and build a gap that's unassailable. So let's try and see what happened to Anderotti. I think you're right. I think he did get help. It's one of the 3M Lamborghinis behind him who just nerfs him, and yeah, there's nothing Anderotti could have done there. And once he was on the grass, there was no way of slowing that Audi down. And to be honest, that was just lucky that didn't clear out more cars. But that for Carnero, that will be a dim view will be taken there, I think.
Alex Neller, I think it was, who he took with him. And that boosted Virage car then dropping all the way down to 49th has Alex, and he's back up and running once again. But going through the field here, Michael Blake looking like he's losing the position to Chris Maltrek, and also Pete Harrod going past him as well. There you see them. Pete Harrod, the Century Sim racing driver, moved teams at the end of last season. Oh, getting pushed wide there. And here's come Luke McEwen out of nowhere. Well, a little bit of a rub. Give it a wax and a polish as well while you're at it, Luke. And through he goes, now up into 6th place for the Logitech GL2Z Sports driver.
Yeah, next up is the number 46 Audi of Chris Malczarek. The red and yellow flashes, and makes that move nice and clean. Does McEwen. And well, we're going to be talking about a number 46 Audi in the 2022 season in the Fanatec GT World Champion, a certain Valentino Rossi, switching from 2 to 4 wheels. So he'll be in a number 46 Audi R8. So McEwen, but on the move now. Whitehouse is his next target. And actually, it's been a relatively steady start to the race for Thompson. He's down in 16th place. So a little bit of a steadier run through the pack for Thompson, so he's got a bit of work to do over the next 15 minutes.
Certainly does. Maltrek coming under pressure from Pete Harrod now. Got Paul Webster behind him as well, one of your Pro-Am Championship contenders, and that is the view that the Evo SR driver had of that instant. My goodness. I think he'll be counting his chickens, not counting his chickens, but certainly getting a lucky pebble, lucky underpants, whatever, after seeing that happen right in front of him.
Oh, yeah, well, we always talk about how the Evo SR machines look like the old Tequila Patron machines, the sports cars. Of course, Tequila Patron are very involved with sports car racing for quite a long time, so we maybe need a shot of Cafe Patron after that one, just to, you know, ease the nerves, because that was, oh my goodness, that was close. Been a difficult night at the office for Jack Sedgwick, but there he is in the black Ferrari just at the back of shot there. Difficult night on the points for him, but he's in 10th right now, and a good score here would at least steady the ship a little bit, but hasn't been Sedgwick's night.
Well, looking back then, so I think this is at the start, and here we go. There's Andretti, and wham! Oh, and he took Adam Watson with him as well, so we thought it was just the boosted Virage car, but it was also Adam Watson, the Team Mad car, who got taken in all of that as well. 13.5 minutes remaining in this one. Paul Webster, was that Webster into the back? Well,
no, it was Sedgwick.
Malcharek ends up into the wall. I thought it was one of the Immortal cars who got into the back there of Malcharek. He carries on, but he's got a very, very damaged rear wing, and that Audi, I mean, it snaps on you at the best of times, does the handling of that car. That's going to feel like a pig.
Yeah, it's not going to feel nice at all. It's really going to harm the straight line speed as well for Malcharek. I'm pretty sure there was contact from Jack Sedgwick's Ferrari, actually. I don't know if there was more than one car involved, but yeah, maybe my eyes are deceiving me. But anyway, they carry on. Sedgwick carries on there as well. And there's Josh Thompson, winner of race 2 in the number 49 BMW, and making his way now, starting to make some progress up into 12th place. And McEwen is up, oh my goodness, is up to 3rd now, but in time he's only taken about half a second out of Les Moulin, but crucially he's got those places, he's got the cars between him and Les Moulin disposed with, and then we'll see in the lap times. Les Moulin's best at the moment is the 132.453. McEwen's actually slightly slower, 132.571.
As they go up the hill there and across the line once again. Here's a replay then. So Sedgwick is on the right hand side. It's the Porsche, and then
both. Yeah,
so it is both who get into the back of him, and off he goes. And we've got a car in the middle of the track there. That's possibly the worst place. And James Crouch, I think, quite wisely decides, I'm getting out of here and I'm taking a tour back to the pits. Thankfully, you can do that in sim racing, because there's no worse feeling than being facing the wrong way in the middle of the track down that start and finish straight with cars just flying at you.
Yeah, and let's see what happened here to James Crouch. He gets
Gregory. It was Ben Gregory that he made contact with.
Yeah, Gregory just sort of moves across, and I'm definitely not deliberately, but slightly clumsily, it must be said, and just sort of drives into the quarter panel. And if you do that at that speed, there's your result. Pretty silly.
These two at the front, Les Moulin and Saunders, they don't want to fight each other, do they, Peter? They want to just work together and try and keep as far ahead of McEwen as possible.
Exactly so, yes, that is critical. They'll know that McEwen's coming. They'll have their spotter or teammates or whatever telling them, saying, yeah, McEwen's on the way. It's now 3.3 seconds from the leader, back to McEwen in 3rd. But yes, Saunders, if he's got to play this one clever and take his opportunity, as does Les Moulin. And yeah, I think Saunders is playing the game here, very smart, because as soon as he starts sending moves up the inside of Les Moulin, the lap times drop away so fast, and McEwen will be right on top of them.
Yeah, they certainly are sort of working together. Last lap, 33.0 for Les Moulin, 32.8 for Saunders, 32.6 for McEwen. Now, with McEwen, because he's had to fight his way through the field here, Peter, is that a case of maybe he's used up and put a lot of heat through those tyres, and it's just affected him in the second half of this race now?
Could be, yes. That could very much be the case, and we know that we've mentioned the Audi. That Audi is it's a pretty sharp tool, and it can bite back if you take any liberties with it. And when these high track temperature conditions, makes it very greasy and just makes that challenge of driving that Audi even harder. You know, so at the moment the gap very, very close between Saunders and Lesmullen, and McEwen now down to about 3 seconds as a very smiley Lord Hedge, Adam Hedgecock, with the fish tank in the background. You know, poor old Hedge, he's had a really difficult day at the office, but he still enjoyed himself.
Absolutely. He's not had a good day of it so far in these races, but certainly enjoying his fight further down there in the order in 43rd. He's got Jack Belton, Alex Neller and Toby Ward all in front of him right now. Just to give you a little bit of a rundown of where people are at the moment, is your pro drivers, Les Moleman, Saunders and McEwen, first, second and third. They're your top pro drivers. Your top pro-am driver at the moment is your own Kaiser in 5th place. The next pro-am driver is Paul Webster in 9th and Christian Rose in 12th place. Your top am driver at the moment is actually James Whitehouse, the number 5 car, in 7th place. He has got then a nice bit of a gap between himself and the second place am driver of Michael Blake, who is in 15th. Chris Malcharek, who we've seen a little bit in the wars, down in 17th place out there right now. So there's your how things stand for the AMs, Pro-Ams and the Pros out there. Les Moleman, though, doing a good job at the front of your field. They lost about 0.3 of a second last lap from your 3rd place Luke McEwen, as there goes Sedgwick on your own Kaiser. I think Kaiser is just picking and choosing his battles, but if he's not too careful, he'll have Paul Webster and Christian Rose catch up to him soon.
Yes, he will. I'll have to be very aware of that. 7.5 minutes to go here in this final race of the sprint round here at the World GT Championship at Interlagos. And McEwen is taking time out of Lesmullen and Saunders, but not necessarily, Paul, at the rate that he needs to make a challenge for the win.
It's a question of if Saunders and Les Moleman start fighting in the final couple of laps, I think that's when McEwen could really come in and just rock up on them and say, "Hi boys, I'm here now," and really put a cat amongst the pigeons, because he's only 2.7 seconds back off of your race leader right now. You've got Michael Avdoka in 5th place, fighting it out with Pete Harrod, former teammates. Don't forget, they will certainly be fighting each other tooth and nail as they go through Ferradura, and Jack Sedgwick getting held up in all of this. But Avdoka makes his way past Harrod, and Sedgwick is trying to follow him.
Yeah, there's Avdoka there in the white and blue Pure Sims Lamborghini as Sedgwick, having a little look there, showing the nose of the NX Ferrari, but no, can't get the move done on now. That is Pete Harrod. Yes, it is Pete Harrod in the number 40 Lamborghini there, the black Century Sim machine with the yellow stripe, and then one of the Porsches just behind Sedgwick. That's your own Kaiser, leader in Pro-Am, with James Whitehouse in the top 10 overall, and top of the AM class. Super drive from James.
And look who's coming through as well. Josh Thompson. There goes Sedgwick to the inside of Harrod into turn 1. It's going for Avdoka as well. I think he's outbraked himself a little bit. Harrod's trying to take advantage. It's 3 wide, and here comes Josh Thompson to say, right, I want a piece of the action here now. Through the Curva de Sol once again. The BMW, Ferrari, and 2 Lamborghinis duking it out for 5th place in this race. You can see the movement that Thompson got then under braking. Give each other space. Well, they're allowing Avdoka to pull away. Sedgwick just has a nose ahead, but Pete Harrod does have the inside line for Ferradura. Where does Thompson go? Does he try and duck under and try and get the inside for the next corner?
Well, I think if for those who were watching very carefully there, and it's a rare sighting, we saw Josh Thompson crack a smile there. Sorry, Josh. But yeah, no wonder he was smiling, because one of the Team Mad Porsches off in the background, but with Paul Webster. But no wonder he was smiling, because what a what a benefit there for Thompson. He's now up to 7th. Oh dear, but
And that
friendly
was
fire.
teammates. That was...
Get them under. Control your drivers.
That was teammates getting together. I mean, it's very much on brand for Team Mad to get into each other. That's for sure. Up we go once again. 4.5 minutes remain in this race. It is still Les Morman and Saunders at the front of your field. Then got Luke McEwen in 3rd place, slowly gaining on the front two. Harrod and Sedgwick, they're still not finished with this battle, and Sedgwick, for everything that he tries, just cannot get past that Century Sim Racing car of Pete Harrod. And Josh Thompson now, he's trying to get involved. Here's what happened. It's James Whitehouse and Paul Webster. I think Webster just lost it himself.
Yeah, maybe a tiny touch, but yeah, not much anyway. But just shows you it doesn't need much to get the car loose, and in these high track temperatures, it's so greasy. As Harrod and Sedgwick still banging doors as well. And the only thing now for Josh Thompson is he's saying there's actually, with their running too wide everywhere, there's actually no room at all for Thompson to make his move to try and get some more positions back. As a little wiggle there for Harrod. Is that the opportunity? Does Thompson pounce like a mythical Manx shark? Well, no, not quite.
To steal a phrase from David Edison, he's trying to go at them like a stabbed rat. He's really trying to get going fast. There's a door open there. He's pried it open with a crowbar, left the space there, so he's going to be compromised for Junsao, and Harrod should get the cut under here.
What was the other one? He's all over that like a fat pigeon on a chip. That's one of my favourites. But yes, Thompson trying to use the grunt of the BMW here to try and get past on Harrod, but no. He's going to have to think of another way. Cedric's, he's scampered off saying, see you later, guys. But Thompson, I don't think he'll want to be taking enormous risk right now. Oh, that's pretty, but good move there as well. Classic Senna S move there from Josh Thompson. Shuts the door and makes sure that the move is sealed. But yes, this doesn't want to be taking enormous risk. It's been a really good night. It started off from the back of the grid, don't forget. A 14th place, a win, and, well, at the moment, sitting in 6th spot. A good night at the office for Thompson.
Shutting the door, that was slamming the door in Pete Harrod's face like an angry girlfriend. Don't ask me, I've experienced it. As he goes up in towards Ferradura.
How could anyone be angry at you, Paul? I can't imagine that.
Well, he certainly got that door slammed shut and made sure that Pete never made any moves on him there. It's Kaiser and Rose who are behind Harrod now, and they are absolutely neck and neck in the Pro-Am category. So Kaiser's trying to hang on to a Pro-Am win. Meanwhile, your leaders, they're going to be coming through to start their final lap. If ever there was an opportunity for Reece Saunders to try and overtake, it will be on this last lap. However, Les Morman has pulled out almost a second lead here.
Yeah, very impressive stuff from Les Morman to resist the challenge from Reece Saunders, who still holds the fastest lap of the race, albeit it might have been a little bit draft assisted, but still you've got to do the time. McEwen is still closing in more and more and more as they're on to the final lap now. Is he going to be close enough to, or is Saunders, is he keeping his powder dry? Who knows? But intriguing race here, how it's worked out. But Les Morman has been very, very impressive under the pressure.
Certainly has, as we're moving through to Interlagos for the final time. And there is McEwen. He's been pushing all along. I mean, he gained just over half a second on that last lap alone. He can smell enough of position here. Now Saunders in that BMW seems to come alive through this middle sector, but Audi really does well out of Junsao and up the hill, and that's the important bit around here. But Saunders trying his best, trying to get in that slipstream for the final time as they come down into Junsao. Turn left over the curb. Use the curb on the outside as well, but not too much. It can unsettle the car. And up the hill. White flag is definitely out. That BMW does have slipstream, but that final start and finish line does come at you quickly. And Marvin Les Morman, What a drive for the German SimRacing.de team to win! And there we finally get a smile from one of our drivers. Takes the victory here across the line by 0.2 of a second over Rhys Saunders. Luke McEwen up 14 places, up into 3rd place ahead of Michael Avdoka, Jack Sedgwick and Josh Thompson. Pete Harrod finished in 7th, and Jeroen Kaiser, the top Pro-Am, in 8th place. Great result for him. And looking down, it's actually Michael Blake who wins the AM category in 14th place, ahead of Chris Malcharek, with Lee Berridge in 3rd place. That's 2 wins and a 3rd place in AM for Lee Berridge. That has done him a world of good here, Peter, for his AM Championship standings.
Oh, huge, man, a huge haul of points indeed for Lee Berridge. He'll be delighted with that in that wonderful number 54 BMW. And well, some great storylines coming out of this race. I mean, after what looked like such a difficult start for Josh Thompson, he's scored a lot of points today, finishing 6th in that last race there as well. But McEwen, although the first two races were difficult for him, didn't get the reverse grid when he needed it, but to recover back up to 3rd place there as well, just keeps himself in the in the championship fight. And if that's going to be a bad meeting, well, that's not a bad position to be in.
Well, we will be able to give you your final unofficial race results here of the evening here in the World GT Championship. And it has been a late night. We've gone on late. We're into overtime here on the broadcast. But we can tell you, Marvin Lesmorman then, winner by 0.2 of a second over Rhys Saunders from Team Year 1, with Luke McEwen in Logitech GLTC Sports team in 3rd place. Michael Avdoka, Jack Sedgwick, Josh Thompson and Pete Harrod and the next cars. Jeroen Kaiser for Team Mad, the top Pro-Am driver, ahead of Ross McFarlane, with Christian Rose, the 2nd Pro-Am driver, in the results here. Adam Volkovich 11th, with Tim Perry 3rd place in Pro-Am for Boosted Virage. Mark Hutchinson, a little bit disappointed I think he'll be with that one. Michael Blake for Immortal, your top AM driver, ahead of Chris Malcharek and Lee Berridge for the Audi Sport Slovakia and Boosted Sim Sport cars respectively. Lewis Ford in 17th, ahead of James Whitehouse, Bradley Hulse, who finally gets a good result, and Lars Van Rijn rounds out your top 20. Andy Archer then 21st, ahead of Adam State, Craig Jones, Adam Watson, who got collected in that opening lap incident, with Kevin Kittleman, Tony Draper, David Baker, Mike Horder, the other one caught up in that Anderutti incident, Eric Hagen. Anderutti ends up in 30th, your race 1 winner. Brendan Stacey 31st, ahead of Robert Lundgren, with Jesse Payne at Wilkins, Brian Crone ahead of Jonathan Walker, Chris Wood, Nick Salaputis, Jack Osborne, Alex Neller and Toby Ward. Adam Hedgecock with Simon Neller, Martin de Jong, John Roberts, Nathan Healy, Jack Belton, Matt Woodhouse and Benjamin Gregory, with Simon Field and Paul Webster 2 laps down. But disappointed with that, Will Paul, James Crouch, Chris Van der Ness, Bruno Canero, David Michael Nichols and Ashley Finch all did not finish. And well, Peter, we haven't got time for interviews, unfortunately, but so just a quick final thoughts here for you from you today. Action-packed racing in the World GT Championship, and 2 weeks' time, we head on over to Bathurst.
What a treat! And everyone gets Valentine's Day off as well, so we all have, we're all winning brownie points on the other side of the fence as well. So that's good. That's very nice. Good thinking from the organisers, I have to say, to set that schedule right. But yeah, Bathurst, who will be king of the mountain? 100-minute race there, or 105-minute race around that wonderful track. It's going to be a corker, and some drivers from today are going to have maybe slightly difficult races as well to make their way through the pack. I can't wait for it, and the only thing is we have to wait 2 weeks.
Absolutely. But I'm afraid that is all that we've got time for you here on RaceSpotTV. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. 2 weeks' time then, February the 21st, on RaceSpotTV, 7:50 UK time. It is going to be round number 4, an endurance race around Mount Panorama for you here with the World GT Championship. I've been Paul Smith. He's been Peter Mackay, with Hugo Luis behind the scenes. And what a day it has been for German SimRacing.de winners in Leandro Anderutti and Marvin Lesmorman. Until next time, it's goodbye. Bye, behind the scenes people. I hope you had fun.